Hey, what is going on, y'all? Excuse me. We're just kind of waiting for our guest to show up. This was actually his idea. Uh, we didn't talk a whole lot of detail because I I want it to be more organic. So I know we're going to talk about what maybe Luigi, if he was the actual shooter, kind of what his mindset was and what a fugitive goes through in that 4 or 5 days. Um, if you're here all the time, then you've heard me say it a million times. But I was a fugitive recovery agent for 8 years, so I know a thing or two about uh, how they think and what kinds of things they do. So we will start it out that way whenever Sam gets here, and I will say some hellos in the meantime. I guess what's going on, pullover? What is up, Nepa? He's in prison and yeah, well, prison and jail aren't the same thing, but yeah, he's locked up. What's going on, Shauna? Think he was jealous? Jealous of what? Of the money? He was rich. His family was like the richest family in their town. So I don't know what else would it be jealous of? What's going on, General? General of the Sea Monkey Mafia. What is up, Veronica? How have I been? Been all right, I guess. I hope things are better for you. I know you were going through it there for a while, if not still. Is this the Hitman class? Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that. A couple of subjects I know a little bit about. He wasted his time. Like the whole suppressor thing was a complete waste for him. It wasn't like he was sneaking around in an office building and really had to be quiet. He did it publicly. He did it publicly intentionally. So leaving the gun loud would actually would have been better for him because his gun wouldn't have jammed. Or if he knew how to, you can't just roll a suppressor on a pistol. You got to change springs and other things have to be done. Well, speak of the devil.
Hey, Bill.
What's going on, Sam?
Merry
What's on
Christmas.
your
How are
mind?
you? Happy holidays.
Oh,
Hope you're doing
yeah,
well.
Merry fucking Christmas.
Well, this place is dead, isn't it?
It is,
Not,
man.
not.
I
I
don't
mean, it
know.
literally fell off the cliff, basically.
I'm on YouTube's. I got a couple more strikes, so uh, yeah, they already weren't sending my last live, not the one I did today, but the one before. I was only live for I don't know. It was less than 2 hours, and at the end of it, I had about 6,000 views. But that just happens sometimes. I've had more. If you go
Was that
through, hmm,
was that the one you were doing with the windmills, or was that the vertical
yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah. The if you go vertical, then that happens sometimes. Not all the
Well, I
time.
mean,
I wasn't live very long this time either, and I had like 800. So,
what are your?
but I
I mean, if you
privated
care to
it
share, what's your strikes for? Is this community related strikes or just YouTube related strikes?
both. One one of them I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna tell you anybody what it was or what it was for because I know for a fact at least twice somebody has replayed that video and it's not one that you would think would get a strike. So I'm not gonna say what it is because they will also get the strike. So I'm not gonna tell them which one it was.
No problem. That's good. Yeah, yeah, I mean this
I'll tell you off
whole
of here, but
yeah, this what's happened? I mean, you kind of predicted this for months. You noticed that I mean, we're kind of this this so-called predator catching community is in year number 3 or 4, and it's the death of. I mean, you had seen and you had been warning about the fact that
Oh yeah.
the behavior of a lot of things. I mean, you got people backstabbing each other. You got people throwing around accusations about each other. You got people revealing DMs. You got people just totally betraying each other and being cheered on for betraying friends of yours. And then people go
Yeah.
away. It's like they don't have a base. Imagine that. How do you have a friend with someone? And I'm not going at boobe totally, but you're you're on one side or the other with Booby over the years, and you see her outright betray all of her friends, and she's cheered on because it fits a certain narrative and agenda. And so
Hmm.
briefly, she's cheered on by a group of people like Tommy Boy in the group and the gang, but they can't be friends with her. I mean, they've seen her for being the betrayer that she is, and we praised her sort of for coming out with all this juice and gossip, but literally she betrayed people. And I mean, you got that, and then she's Booby is not the only one. Dozens and dozens of people have backstabbed each other, and then
Hmm.
you saw the numbers sliding from what, a year or 2 ago or 2 years ago and
Oh
beyond,
yeah.
where
Well, nobody gets near what we used to get, but even before the numbers started dropping off, I called this shit out. I mean, you could see it if you know how people work and how people think. You could see this shit coming a mile away. The people that were always about clout this, clout that, clout, clout, clout are the ones that killed it.
yeah,
I did a class on it, cloutflation. Um, Once you start issuing too much clout, it eventually becomes worthless.
it totally,
Kind of
and
like,
like literally dies overnight, essentially,
mm,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, well, I mean, I noticed it too, Bill. I got to be honest. Like when I had drama related things with community related events, I got a lot of people listening. When I wanted to talk about
hmm,
things that were of special interest to me, female predators and, some true crime stuff that I'm interested in, projects I'm working on with JT, people sort of disappeared. And I can't force people to engage, and I'm not going to and don't want to, but it's like, you know, as soon as I started even talking about actual predator catching, Bill, when I started talking about actual predator catching, I covered a number of Alex catches. I talked about news articles related to Alex. PvP catches that I liked, that I wanted to show, stuff with Cam. Talked about some victim stuff with a family that their little girl got hurt by someone that Cam had caught, and he later caught this person. The prosecutor didn't do his job, allegedly, according to Cam, and the guy reoffended, and Cam caught him, and we did this stream with this family, which was a good stream, but people really, and again, it's like I would rather do those streams,
yeah,
if only one other person is listening. I would rather do high quality streams of things that matter, whereas this sweet nectar of things that are completely meaningless, and then we see the end result of it, right? This is the end of the train. We were all, Cap was running his daily nightly drag streams of a dude over the internet. uh you know Tommy and Damone were running their panels together on their streams that were gangbusters. Nunya was lighting it up at one time. Even TBS got over 100 viewers 3 times. So, and then it died, just died. And no, and like, who's
yeah.
left? Who's out there? And let me do see who's out there.
I mean,
FCC is
it's the
always out
same
there. And
same
Robbie
shit
Jersey,
over and over again.
Hoax is there. Is that really Hoax? Is Hoax a mod in your channel, Bill?
Well, I had to make a deal to keep the peace. Believe me, I'm not happy about it.
What in the
But
fuck?
it was for the greater good, Sam.
I trust your judgment. Very few people that I do, but that's
I know
fucking
it's shocking to a lot of people, and I know people
Merry
aren't going to be
Christmas.
happy about it. But
Yeah, Merry
uh,
Christmas to you, Hoax. And his first question out of the gate is diminishing the special guest title, and as me being the special guest. And then has Sam come out of the closet like me yet? Congratulations, Hoax. I mean, you really can't live in the closet when everyone knew you were gay, but congratulations is in order. I bet you and Destiny will be out on the town looking for Nick Fuentes's nether region. So congrats. Merry Christmas, Mitch. I really, really hope the new year finds something of substance in your life or in your ass. Sorry.
hey,
Oh man.
wherever it
And
has to go to make the change, right?
there's Thegran Twomper is out there, and yeah, good to see everybody. Yeah, but it's just, hey, Veronica, thanks. Good to see you around, Veronica. But yeah, I mean, I'm shocked. And then, of late, as people can come and go, this is another problem with the internet. People just disappear. It's like the Clout. What was that, Bill? I didn't see that. Did you want to?
Well, hold on. I didn't want to interrupt your.
No,
talking.
I'm just seething over Mitch's comment about a special guest and that. But go ahead. What show us your video?
Well, this was a class that I put on a while back about cloutflation and clout economics. And before all this shit fell apart, this was the materials that I used to show exactly what was going to happen, and exactly what I said was going to happen happened. Clout got devalued because it was being gone after too much, and we're in a small group of people already, so there's only so much clout to be had, and we already have all the same subscribers. So the scrambling for clout just really fucked it all up for everybody, including the people that were scrambling for it.
Yeah.
But like, okay, here's an example. This is an example, right? In clout, you got people now. Actually, you know what? It doesn't even matter anymore.
Is that years, or is that what's 1, 2, 3, 4? Is that years?
Okay, well,
you were showing like
I don't have my other chart, but
is that year
basically
one?
Basically here, okay, here is most people. Here is like 99s and people like that, and that's me. And then the sea monkeys are they're almost right there with me. Actually, I don't remember what all this means, but I did have a good presentation.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at as year 1, 2, 3, 4. As we go from years of a community, it's gets established, and year 2 is kind of the height of the clout and the attention, and then year 3 and 4 it dies. That's how I read that. I don't know if that was how
pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And here is the fuck around and I'm sorry. Here's the fuck around and find out chart, and you can see they kind of intersect right there at about 370. I don't think that was a coincidence.
What does 370 stand for?
You don't know about keeping it 370?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I've been Bill. I haven't paid attention like none of us really have, and I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear, $370 was the amount that allegedly Nunya repaid Booby for the loan that Booby gave her that was basically a gift, but Booby got mad, turned it into a loan, and then Nunya repaid $3.70.
Yeah,
Is that about right?
that's about right. Yep.
And then Booby released all the messages and made herself doxed people left and right, and then made herself again. Like, I don't know how she came out of that looking
Well,
good.
that's
She looked terrible.
exactly that's the thing. I've had fallings out with people, and there's so much shit that people are lying about that I could throw out our messages and prove it wrong. But I usually wait for them. Like if they put out messages, they'll put out just a little bit to make it look a certain way. Then I'll put out like the whole conversation, and it never looks good for them. But here's the thing: is like once you start throwing out all of your messages because you had a falling out with somebody, how can anybody else ever trust you again? They're like,
Well, that's
am
what
I
I'm
going to be
saying.
next, or all my private message going to come out? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's like the fallacy of Boobies, which was she. I mean, Tommy Boy will he's loyal to like two people, Josh and well, maybe just Josh. So it's like he didn't give a shit about Booby, but yet here she is delivering all the goods to this guy that will never respect her, never trust her, never give her anything in return. Again, notice how it was a one-way street with the delivery of information. Of course, TBS has a lot of skeletons that he's been hiding for people, and Damone certainly has. And again, we're getting back to the PHI hidden son, alleged sex offender. Who hid that? Who was part of that? How many boys knew of that? And again, we can go down this, we can take all my theories back to it, but, just a cesspool of skeletons. And TBS was good about hiding all that stuff. And so did they deliver anything to Booby? Did Booby get anything in return for betraying all of her friends, sinking the ship, exposing? What did Booby get in return other than no one in this community would ever trust her again? What did she get?
Well, at the time, she thought she was really getting back at somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Joke was a mod here at one time, and I never really did trust her, but our paths crossed a lot, and we worked together on a couple things. Not really worked together, but we were involved in a lot of the same things behind the scenes. But I just got sick of her bullshit. It's how many times did she sit up on? Bobby Joke is a hanger on. She always has been.
Right.
How many times did she sit up on Nanya's panels and co-sign everything on he was saying? And then all of a sudden, it was all bullshit. It was all bullshit.
And Bill, we knew
she
that
did the same thing with me.
And we knew that day was going to come where people were going to, abandon each other. I mean, we knew it was coming. Someone was going to screw somebody. But anyway, I wanted to, so I've been super interested in, I just am watching this community just die. It was first a slow death, then it was a fast death. Now it's just a, Alfred Packer has eaten everybody, and then now is converted to vegetarianism. Really good stuff, by the way. I hate to self-promote myself, but at the Morgue Logs is pushing out some great content at the Morgue Logs on YouTube and now on Spotify. Search the Morgue Logs. And literally the last year, I've done a lot of traveling and filming with JT, and he is a great host, and he's got a ton of creepy crawly stories and insights, as well as this new Jean Benet documentary on Netflix. And he's going to provide, a good backdrop to all of the things about that have not already been said about that case that are coming back to life. So if you would like to see some new content, sort of a different genre of, not really different, but true crime, happy to have you over there. And I know you were over there, Bill. I hope you enjoy some of the first early videos.
Oh yeah, I like it.
So, but really what I wanted to come and talk about was this. I've been dying to get your opinion about this whole case. Obviously, me and Colfax did a summary of the hypocrisy of this Luigi character, sort of giving it Italians a bad name for sure, in that he was a complete hypocrite, and he killed an executive at a health insurance company. No one is here advocating for large profits or denials of care for yourself or people that you love. We know that it's kind of a dirty business, that should be reformed, but the self-promotion of this Luigi, this wealthy, privileged, entitled beach bum, but surprisingly well trained. Were you? Where the hell did this kid get? I mean, did it look like he had some gun training, Bill, to you?
Some, yeah. I mean, he was pretty quick. Like when the gun jammed, again, him using that suppressor was a complete waste. It wasn't like he was sneaking around an alley or an office building where he really had to be quiet. He knew that it was going to be, he wanted it to be a public hit. So him even using that suppressor was a complete waste. He should have just not worried about it, and then his gun wouldn't have jammed. Now, I think he knew it was going to jam because it didn't seem to surprise him. He was pretty quick about uh, getting it rolling again. But the way he did it was kind of sloppy. Like the way he pulled the gun back and turned it. If he really knew what he was doing, you just go over the top, and I would just have to demonstrate it. But
What is the?
I think he probably watched a lot of YouTube videos and went out and practiced some. I mean, he hit his target. He killed the guy, and he got away. In that moment, he got away. But like the way he was standing wasn't the way a real professional shooter would stand. And I know people have given a lot of criticisms. They said, well, he should have been closer. He should have got closer. But that's not necessarily true because sometimes you want to stay back because of blood spatter, because some blood does splash back, and you want to stand at least 12 foot back to avoid that. There's a lot of little details that people just don't know. But
yeah, what is this subsonic ammo that's required? Is that required in a sound suppressant when you're using a sound suppressant, or is it recommended, or is there?
For it to be effective, yeah, you can shoot regular ammo. This is why, like, a real hitman will either use a 45 or a 22 because the standard ammunition for those already goes slower than the speed of sound, and that's what subsonic ammo is. It's low powered ammo that goes slower than the speed of sound because when something goes faster than the speed of sound, it breaks the sound barrier, and when that happens, like when a jet does it, it can break windows because there's a sonic boom. But when the ammunition goes slower, you don't have that sonic boom.
So by default, if I'm buying a 45 and I'm buying ammo for a 45, it will be subsonic already by default, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, a standard 45 ammo goes about 950 feet per second. I mean, they do make plus P rounds that goes faster than that. But yeah, if you're just buying ammo off the shelf, just the regular plain Jane target ammo, whatever, will already be subsonic by default.
Oh, hey, Michelle. Good to see you, Michelle. Bill, I think I'm still covered. You're covering me up, Bill. I can't. I want to show.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. My bad.
No, I just don't want to. Michelle. I wanted Michelle to see me.
What's up, Michelle?
I wanted to say hello to Michelle. So, okay, what is the purpose? I mean, meaning if I have a sound suppressant or a silencer, right? The technical term is sound suppressant. Is that correct, Bill? Silencer is sort of like a movie. If you're into movies,
Yeah, silencer is Hollywood bullshit. It's actually a
Hollywood,
suppressor.
it's a sound suppressor or just a suppressor.
Suppressor, yeah.
So if I have a suppressor on a 9mm gun and I don't use subsonic ammo, what advantage is there? Almost no advantage to having a suppressor. It won't do that much.
No, there's still an advantage because a good suppressor, you just like anything else, there are different qualities of suppressors. The suppressor will still take out the bang. It's called the report, the actual bang when the ammo goes off. A good suppressor will take that out, so you won't hear that. But you'll still hear the action work, and you'll still hear, if you don't use subsonic ammo, you'll hear the bullet break the sound barrier.
So it won't reduce it really by what, maybe 50%, would you say?
It depends. I mean, there are different grades of suppressors. Some are better than others, you know.
Yeah. So other than the hypocrisy totally of this, I mean, the Gen Z assassin, I couldn't think of a more literal terrible advocate for. I mean, when this story first broke, Bill, I obviously it didn't seem like it was a professional assassin. Did you know right away that it wasn't really a professional assassin pretty quickly?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can tell that he's had some. I don't know if he's had any range training, but he's had some practice. And I believe that he practiced with that gun because he was not surprised when his gun jammed. You know, especially somebody that's not shotguns a lot. When their gun jams, they don't know what to do. And he didn't really hesitate. He didn't really clear it right, but he did get it cleared, and he did it relatively quickly. So he did get the job done, you know, and his plan worked. He got out of the city.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to pick your brain on. I've been dying to do this, and I figured, you know, probably other people were interested knowing your background, being that you did this line of work for almost a decade. Walk us through, like, because what I've heard is the lead up to this shooting, the shooter basically prepared pretty well. He obviously staked out his target. He knew where he'd
Hmm.
be. He knew the conference he wanted to target. He had a number of weapons prepared, or this weapon. And he had sort of this political literature to prepare for his, uh, you know, statements about how bad the healthcare system is, while his family is mistreating patients in their own healthcare. I don't know if you heard about this, Bill, but his family in Baltimore operated a healthcare company called Lorien Health Services, where a number of violations and complaints have been rolling in, or the visibility of them. Again, furthering the hypocrisy of someone like this, super wealthy and privileged, beach bum type with a great body, and yet you know, he has become this basic hero to a lot of people. So he prepares well, but I hear that the aftermath wasn't very well prepared. Is that correct? You know, that he really, even though
Well,
he got
he
away
got
for
caught.
yeah, so yeah, no, I guess that's the thing.
I'm
But
not convinced that it's him. I'm really not. I'm not
what
saying
makes
it's
you say
not
that?
him, but I'm.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you go to all the trouble of getting a suppressor, and I don't know if his suppressor was legal or not. I don't know if it's homemade or what it was, but you know, he went to trouble of getting a suppressor. He had a plan that worked because he got away from the scene. He did a lot of things right. He was sloppy, but he got away. And he goes to all that trouble but he keeps all the evidence on him. He kept the gun on him, supposedly a manifesto, whatever else. I mean, and if you, on the thumbnail, there's a picture of what he looked like in. He wasn't wearing the same clothes. He had a big tan hat on. Does not look like the same guy. Now, how did, I mean, granted, when you go, like when we would put up wanted posters of our people as kind of a last resort, like if the time was running out, because when you do that and you offer a reward, you get all kinds of bullshit tips. And I'm sure that they probably got thousands and thousands. And like, it just, something's not right. Um, why would he keep all the evidence on him?
But
And
Bill,
like,
they
how did
found.
somebody pick him out and say, "Oh, that looks like the shooter"? Um, and I will say that, like, when you're looking for somebody, everybody you see you think could be them, and that happens a lot with these kind of things. But
Uh,
it just,
well, but I mean, they found what does the ballistics look like? So, is the ballistics a unique match? Uh, Basically, if you leave a shell casing at the crime scene, how easy is it to match to? I can say for sure, within a billion to one, that this casing came out of that gun. How is it 1 in 5, 1 in 5 billion, as far as that?
I don't know the statistics, but I, they're starting to say now, like years ago, bite marks. Like if a murder victim had been bitten for decades, they put people in prison based on bite marks because they said, "Oh, the teeth match." Well, now we know that it's bullshit. It's junk science. You had all these experts that would go, and some people, this was all they did was testify about bite marks, um, and put people in prison. Well, now we know it's bullshit. Bite marks don't work like that, and they're kind of saying now that shell casings are the same thing. Like each gun will put the extractor, which pulls the. Actually, I wish I had some bullets on me. I do, I do. Hang on, I don't know how well this is gonna pop out here.
Let me. Um, that's so true though. What
Okay,
I
the
the Grand Twomp ass. The Graham Twomp. Uh, Capitalism always fucks the little guy, i.e., the McDonald's workers. Is it not interesting that
it's not gonna focus. Oh yeah, and I heard that McDonald's worker is not gonna get the reward because she called 911 and not the tip line.
well, yeah, I mean
So
that's I mean, if people want to be upset about how the government f's people over, uh,
this isn't
call
gonna
them.
focus good enough.
What kind of is that, a 9 millimeter?
Yeah, I was trying to show you guys the mark. Okay, like the extractor will drag along here and then catch the slip, and that's
Okay.
what pulls it out of the gun. And supposedly every extractor leaves a unique uh,
I mean,
drag
is that
line, but
allegedly? Is that alleged? I mean, is that true? Like it's almost a fingerprint? It's
like
a
they could
finger.
definitely tell what model gun came out of. But man, I wish I had a better camera because I can put a bunch of shell casings together that I know all came out of the same gun. But and if you look, and I've done this, if you look at the lines under a magnifying glass, they are not exactly the same, and they do the same thing. It's really hard to see, but that circle in there, that little that dimple, that's where the
Right.
firing
Yeah.
pin hits,
That.
and they say that they can also get a unique print from that. Now, I have no doubt that they can tell what kind of gun things come out of, but I've never thought you could really tell specifically which gun. And now there are experts that are saying you really can't, but they're still using it as evidence. So,
Now
um,
this may sound stupid, and this is what I hate about the people at the gun store. They don't let you ask any questions. They're kind of assholes, to be totally honest.
Sometimes they are, yeah.
They're like really assholes. And but hey, it is what it is. I mean, like they're worse than the government, to be honest, in some cases. If I drop a bullet, if I drop a bullet the wrong way, is there a way for that firing pin to go off other than, I mean, is there a way for the explosion to happen for the gun to throw the bullet
The
out?
primer for the primer.
Yeah. Yes. Is there other than a firing pin? If I throw a bullet down hard enough and it hits just right on that dot, is there a way for the gun to go off?
It's not impossible, but I've never heard of anybody, and I've thrown bullets out of cars going 70 miles an hour down the road. Never had one go off. That primer has to be hit in just the right spot, and it has to be hit really hard. If you just handle it and you just drop it on the floor, even if you hit a pin, like there's not enough force there to make it go off.
Well,
And if it does go off, like
I've got the bullet in a vice grip, and I take a hammer and I bang the back of it and hit that little dot. Is there a way? Basically, I guess my question is there a way for a bullet to fire other than being hit with the firing pin, essentially, in any conceivable way?
Almost, I don't want to say anything's impossible, but it's a very, very unlikely. Here, let me get something out here. Let me just whip out my thing. I wasn't really prepared to do this, but okay, you see all these little the primers there in the middle. You see, there's no dimples in them. They got to be hit really, really hard, like in the exact spot there in the middle.
So not dropped on the ground at all.
Dropping it on the ground, it will not set it off.
Okay.
You got to hit. It's a tiny little area that has to be hit just hard enough for it to go off.
Right. Okay.
Now, like even if it does go off, it's not really going to do a whole lot but pop. Like if you throw ammo in a fire or whatever, and I've done this too. Like you have a house fire and you got a bunch of ammo in there. It's not really a big deal because if it's not in the barrel, where it's being contained, it's just going to pop like a firecracker. It's not really going to go anywhere. Now, if you have a loaded gun with a bullet in the chamber and there's a house fire, that one bullet that's in the gun, that could cause an issue because if it gets hot enough, it could go off, But as far as other ammo, even if it does go off and it's not in a barrel, it's not going to do a whole lot.
Okay. So essentially what I'm getting is that there is a very remote possibility that you can fire a bullet without it being specifically hit with a gun's firing pin. But it's
like if you put it in a vise and put a nail there and smack it with a hammer, if you put a nail there and hit it with a hammer, it'll go off.
If I can't buy a gun for various reasons, but I can buy bullets, can I create my own gun if I don't have a 3D printer by putting a bullet in a vice grip and slamming it with a hammer?
If you just hit it, if you hit it hard, see the back is flat. And if you hit the back with a hammer, it's just gonna hit the flat spot because the hammer is flat and the back of the bullet is flat. But if you have a little nub, like a nail, because it has to penetrate in there a little bit.
All these people in chat acting like they're gun experts too. I mean, I love it. It's like,
I've been blabbing. I haven't been able to read it.
Oh no, it's okay. But exactly like the jerks at the gun store. Okay, sorry if you. Too bad. Okay, you all, I'm sure, gun experts. You all pull out your mini guns and show me how big your gun is. But These are for guns for simpletons and for safety people. See, this is another thing. Oh, be safe and safe with guns. And then you ask a question about safety, and you got people trolling you for asking safe questions that people don't ask. And this is why. So, hey, I've already been there, done that. I've dealt with people at the gun store. You all can't match the attitude people at the gun store that are big Second Amendment people, unless, and what are you going to do with the gun? Well, it's none of your business. All lawful reasons. That's what I'm going to do with the gun. Why are you asking me that question? See, people at the gun store, these Second Amendment people, they can deny you to buying a gun for any reason or no reason at all. So they become the quasi-government. And so I find it kind of funny that they're hating on the government while exercising that own power and their own discretion and their own story. Ooh, no, I don't like the way you look. I don't like the questions you're answering. I don't like.
I've yelled at gun dealers for that. I've gotten into arguments with gun dealers because if you don't know, you don't know, and it's better for them to ask what's not really a stupid question. I mean, to me, I don't think there are any stupid questions. I would rather you ask instead of blowing your foot off later. Or blowing my foot off later.
Okay. Well,
I've yelled at dealers because they treat people like shit like that. And I'm like, look, we got the government trying to take our guns. We got lefties hating on us trying to take our guns. Now, if you just turn this person off to shooting, they might not come at us, but they're not going to support us either because they're going to be like, these people are assholes anyway. Fuck
assholes. You know? Well, and like, like they again, is it not true, Bill, that gun dealers don't have to sell you a gun if they don't like you? If you give them, hey, I'm trying to. Why do you need this gun? Well, my wife's new boyfriend, my ex-wife's new boyfriend's causing me some problems, and I need a self-defense weapon just in case. For all lawful reasons, I'm not going to be. Oh, nope. I ain't going to sell you the gun. Nope. FFLs can actually deny you access to a weapon, correct?
Yeah, it's like any other business. If you're an asshole in a gas station, they can kick you out.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't have a Second Amendment to buy gas. I do have a Second Amendment to buy a gun. But again, see, these are the same people that say everybody putting it in that regard, though. Everybody has the right to buy gas. Everybody should be able to get gas. Gas for everybody. And then, okay, I don't like the way you look. I don't like your attitude. Nope, I'm not going to sell you gas. So we've taken the government's power, right? Okay, good. The government doesn't have the power to rate, but we've given it now to FFLs to treat you like shit and possibly deny you a weapon. So I don't like it.
Well,
that's horseshit. And basically, I had a really horror story recently at a gun store. So anyway,
I can tell.
I've got some pent up anger about, and it was just normal questions. Basically, I got treated like your chat is treating me now, which is basically just total assholes. Attitude assholes.
It'll be all right. Hold on. I'm sorry. I've been blabbing and not paying attention to the chat.
I definitely don't think take away their FFL licenses because if I operated a gun store and I'm a business person, I would be super friendly to the neighborhood Karen. She probably could be the most dangerous with a weapon, but I'd sell her one.
Yeah.
Booby. Hey, Booby comes in with a couple extra bucks and she's gonna one-handed change out a clip and buy all the guns
if I saw her handling, I would probably not want to sell her one either. I've seen how she handles guns and it's not safe. But here's part of the deal with that. If they're just being arrogant, stuck up bastards, then that's wrong. But at the same time, when somebody gets shot, people are always looking for somebody to sue. And they go after the guy that sold the gun and they go after the manufacturers. So gun dealers are already at a disadvantage with that because if a kid walks in there and they're old enough to buy a gun, but you hear them talking about shooting up the school, are you going to sell them a gun? Probably not. So it's good that they have that discretion to a degree.
To a degree, but again, how much is it good that the government can red flag people that are mentally ill or have some sort of domestic violence order of them? To a degree, yes, but people, including the government, always extends their power to the point where if you get chippy with someone at the gun store, and hey, you're kind of being an asshole to me, and I'm trying to ask good questions, and I'm a customer, and they get chippy with their answers. Oh no, I don't have to sell you a gun. So anyway, I just thought that was bizarre, because these are the same people that talk so much about the government not having to gun control, but they seemingly love gun control when it comes to their power to exercise it. Anyway, way off topic.
There is a lot of that. I've seen it happen a lot, and I've gotten into it with people like that.
Bill Evans, good to see you, Bill. You got the 2 Bills. Anyway, so Merry Christmas, Bill. Merry Christmas to both Bills.
What's up, Mr. Evans?
This guy uses a 3D printed gun. What is that legit? Did he use a 3D printed gun? Now that the government's thank you, Luigi. Now all these 3D printers are going to get confiscated. And by the way, I truly believe that if you don't already have a suppressor, you ain't going to get one, because Luigi's now going to extend the ATF waiting periods now for probably 2 years. So if you didn't get a suppressor good luck.
They use everything that happens as an excuse to make the law stricter.
Yeah. You can actually print your own gun and use it. And basically it becomes, so all of these gun control people and FFL and licensed dealer and all this stuff goes out the window. I can just buy a 3D printer for $25,000, basically.
Yeah, you can. And there are ways to legally print guns if you fill out the paperwork and get a serial number for it from the ATF. You can legally print guns, but the ghost guns, as they call them, don't have serial numbers. And if a gun doesn't have a serial number, unless it's considered how do they word that? Relic or curio, an antique, basically. If it don't have a serial number on it, it's illegal. It's a felony.
I can print my own gun, and that's legal as long as I declare it and put defend, defund as the serial number. Like, do I have to create my own serial number and declare it to the ATF too?
Yeah. If you declare it to the ATF, and you have the paperwork, you can legally make your own guns.
No, but do I have to create an own serial number for it, or how do I identify that? So I have to create a serial number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like a lot of custom guns, whether they're from Colt and there are a lot of small manufacturers around that make maybe 3 to 5 guns a month, that are doing it legally. And like if they have the first of something, they can call it serial number 1, and then they do the paperwork, and it goes. I don't know exactly. I've never done that, so I don't know all the particulars. But yeah, it's doable.
How hard is it to become an FFL?
I haven't done it. It sounds like a big pain in the ass for paperwork, but like I've gotten Class 3 weapons and suppressors and stuff like that. It's just a lot of paying money and filling out paperwork and not getting any felonies.
Right. How about an acquittal on a DUI?
Yeah. If it was acquitted, it shouldn't count.
All right. It wasn't even charged, but all right. Luigi, back to this hypocritical Gen Z Luigi who wasn't even a United Healthcare customer, was super privileged, and he just took somebody out because he had some back pain from a surfing accident, being a beach bum in Hawaii. He shoots this guy, and you saw them. Basically, he sort of is now running. No one is running after him, Bill, in the aftermath of this. No one's tracking him. I guess the initial reports are they thought it was. That is kind of odd. That no one actually. I mean, if I steal a hamburger from McDonald's, someone's going to chase me down, but I can blow somebody away. That no one knew that he was a sick capitalist pig healthcare CEO when he was shot. So someone gets shot and killed. Nobody chases him or follows him. Was that kind of odd?
Well, I mean, would you chase a guy that has a gun? I mean,
well, I mean, not chase, but at least did anyone call? I mean, would I chase a guy? No, I mean, if he's riding on a city bike on one of those electronic scooters, I wouldn't be that scared of him. I mean, he didn't look like a scary guy. Okay, let's be honest.
well, no, but he just killed somebody.
Right. Yeah, but he probably used all of his He's already used all of his bullets, and I guess he
So
used
you would
3.
know that he didn't have a second gun.
All right. So
Unless it's somebody,
you
unless
can,
it's somebody
all right.
that I
So
love.
all right.
If it's somebody I love, yeah, I'm probably going to go after him.
Okay.
But
Well, I mean,
otherwise, just observe and report.
so they observe and report. He hops on a city bike, super scary, okay? And he starts scooting away from this, gets to Central Park, goes in here. He chooses to leave the city via bus. Why did he do that? Was that to avoid? Is that less likely to be videotaped on a camera somewhere? Do you think a train, a car, Uber? He takes a bus. He finds a bus station, gets to it.
Well, at that point, he hadn't been identified. He probably, I mean, he had enough money to have a car. I don't know if he had a license or not, but it's much like you can't get on a plane because that's, they make you show ID there, even though they didn't know who he was.
They didn't have his identity at that time, right?
Not yet, but I mean, I think he thought he was being slick because he had all these fake IDs, but showing a fake ID to get a hostel and showing a fake ID at the airport, two different things. So he probably knew his fake IDs wouldn't fly there, pun intended. So he chose the bus. Buses are pretty relaxed as far as security goes.
How often are you seeing fugitives with fake IDs? How common is that? How useful is it? I mean, did you encounter it routinely?
Not routinely, no. I could think of one that had a fake ID, but he didn't actually use it as part of his crime. We just found it on him when we arrested him.
Well, I mean, this seemingly helped the guy cover his identity for the start of it, at least from this initial phase where this clerk at this hostel, this woman blew his cover, told him to smile. Him, like a little good bitch that he is, he smiled and caught him with 15 cameras there taking a picture of him. And this clerk then
flirting with women will get you every time.
And
that's something else I'm an expert in.
It got him. And so he flirts with this clerk who sort of does the thing. Oh, you got such a beautiful smile. Give me your number and show me your smile. So he does. And they get basically this rough drawing of his. The reason why the case exploded probably was this guy was an attractive dude. And people wanted the idea that he's this hot assassin out because grandma's cancer surgery got denied. Total bullshit, right? He wasn't fighting for anyone. He wasn't even fighting for himself, to be honest. As we said, he was not even insured by United Healthcare. But you're still of the belief that it could not be him. But Bill is getting back to the ballistics. If they've got a match to the gun that it came from, and they've got the casings that he non-meticulously left at the scene, how do you get out of that?
The thing is, all the information we're getting from the news. Who controls the news? I mean, this guy. They say that somebody that works at McDonald's just figured out that was him. But if you look at the pictures, how do you figure that? He doesn't look like he did in the pictures. And here's something else. The shooter had big bushy eyebrows, but they were well groomed. Luigi has a unibrow. Now, granted, if you don't stay on top of it, it can get out of control, but it was only like 5 days later, and I don't know if hair can grow that fast, because if you look, he's got a big old unibrow and not two separate ones. After he's caught, he's got a unibrow.
But the casing of the bullet matches the gun that he was in possession with, Bill. I don't.
That's what they're saying.
Right.
But again, it goes back to a lot of experts.
Too, Bill, but I mean, it's like, would they outright announce to? I mean, we're talking about a mistrial already. That if you're putting out false information, that like
here's something else that bothers me about that is they told us right away about the bullets that had writing on them and what they said. They usually keep that kind of information quiet because they want information that only the killer would know to help prevent false, because people will go in and confess to crimes that they didn't do just for the hell of it. And also to stop copycats.
Look at a story called Larry Driscoll. Yeah, Larry Driscoll.
Yeah, it happens. And sometimes cops will talk people into signing confessions just because the cops decided they did it.
Yep.
And
100%.
like I've seen this happen. I mean, not with murders, but with other things. I've seen it happen. Cops will say, "Look, if you just sign this, you can go home today, and we won't arrest you."
Yeah.
So, and like, if a mother's got kids at home, whether she did it or not, if a mother's got kids at home, where she got to pick up the kids from the babysitters, or sometimes, like, if you smoke and they won't let you smoke, or if you have any kind of other addiction, they'll wait until you start to go into withdrawal. And they'll be like, hey, just sign this piece of paper and we'll call it a day. We won't arrest you. So you sign the paper and boom, they put you into handcuffs.
Yeah. If you've done, there was a great, if people want what you just described, literally, I just watched and listened to a podcast on it. Just Say You're Sorry. This guy, Larry Driscoll, gets confronted because someone claimed that he looked like this stupid drawing that some artist, crime analyst artist, said, put a drawing out of this guy that allegedly murdered the prostitute. And this cold case, Texas Ranger, arrogant ego, thinks he's got the guy. His name was the Ranger Holland, James Holland. Gets this guy named Larry Driscoll, and guy didn't do it, completely innocent. And he had the guy do hypotheticals. No. Okay, so you didn't. Okay, you said you didn't do the murder, but hypothetically, if you did kill this prostitute, how would you have done it? Let's say she's reaching for your billfold, and she's got a knife. What would you do? And then he said something but he didn't use hypothetically. And essentially, this Ranger, James Holland, convinced this guy, Larry Driscoll, to admit to a murder that he didn't commit. Imagine that. So it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, maybe not all the time, but yeah, it happens. It happens. It definitely happens more than none, and it's pretty freaky that happens, you know. And police can lie to you too all the time, and they can convince you, which is, they can give you bullshit information, right?
Yeah, the police are allowed to lie to you. They'll say, "Oh, we found your DNA at the crime scene," when they didn't, and then you'll start thinking, "Fuck, man, how? Like, maybe I did it?" You know. They do it a lot, and then they'll offer you plea deals. Like, if you did it, fine, go ahead and take your lumps and take the plea deal, get it over with. But I've saw so many people that I really believe were not guilty, but they would sign a plea deal just to get it over with.
Well, I mean,
be like, well, it's just a misdemeanor and whatever, but
what's it called? The prisoner's dilemma, though? I mean, even if I know that I'm innocent, a jury could still convict me, right? If they create enough flair and enough emotional reaction from an emotional jury pool, and they're not specifically looking and trained to look, and people aren't trained to look at the evidence. People aren't trained, that people go off of emotion. I mean, could you imagine
That's the thing.
Booby,
Like we
Nunya,
were.
TBS, and on a jury pool, as
God help you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a runaway jury of that. I mean, yeah, take a plea deal. Even, I mean, hey, whoa, I didn't do this murder, but 4-person Booby is in charge. I think I'm going to take a plea deal. I could end up in the gas chamber for a murder I didn't commit. Anyway, so he takes a bus. Do you think he and again, I guess we're coming from this that you don't believe he did it. I think, Bill, they also have DNA too. They have DNA from the scene that matches with his DNA. I mean, again,
it's not, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm saying I'm not convinced he did it. And there's a lot of reasons why.
But
why is he going to go to all the trouble to get away and then keep all the evidence on him? And it's sometimes people will do shit just to see if I can get away with the actual murder. But I want people to know I did it, and I want people to know why. But when they were taking him from the car into the jail, he was mad. He was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? He wasn't like, yeah, I did it because the motherfucker did this and did that. That wasn't his demeanor. So I don't know.
His demeanor. Well, allegedly he's got a bad back and he's jumping around like someone like, I mean, healthier than Olympic, gymnasts. But apart from the allegation that he's got a hugely bad back and he's got a spinal deleosis or whatever, and he had a spinal fusion allegedly because he was a beach bum in Hawaii on a surfing accident, forgetting all that, and he's jumping around like crazy. When he initially was arrested, though, Bill, he didn't do that. He was arrested and he didn't make any statements at all. There was 50 cameras there when he was initially booked. He didn't say anything. Basically, as time went on, he started.
Have you seen the footage where they're taking him from the car into the jail?
Yeah, he's in an orange jumpsuit. That was like 3 days later. The initial arrest of his arrival, he said nothing.
You shouldn't say anything. But that's kind of the part of the point that I'm making is if he did it and wanted, I mean, he supposedly put words on the bullets, so that was a statement for sure. And then they say he had this manifesto on him when he got arrested, and this gun and everything else. If he wanted people to know his mission and why he did it, he would have started saying it while they were arresting him. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess, but I mean, I don't think there's a shadow of a doubt that he did it, though, Bill. I mean, it's like, which is kind of stupid that he's now shutting his mouth. He should basically say, take all the glory that he now is getting from misguided people and thought processes, that he's some sort of hero. But
if he did it, he probably would.
Well, I mean, when he came back
out, any lawyer is going to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Well,
any lawyer would tell you not to talk.
I understand for innocent people and guilty people, but you're using one thing as evidence that he was shouting something. This is an injustice of the American people or something to that degree. What, health insurance fraud, rich fat cat CEOs, the fact that you were charged with carrying a false police, who carried a false ID on his persons. And I mean, hey, they put his face out there. So he gets on a bus, he goes, do you think he ever rents a car, or do you think he uses public transportation or these buses across Pennsylvania while he's on this what does his days look like over the following 5 days that he's on the run?
It doesn't sound like he uses cars. Maybe he doesn't have a driver's license. Um, I don't know. Like if his back is messed up, um, we don't know what kind of meds he's on, and that's another thing. If he's on opioids or even Lyrica, I found that Lyrica is actually in ways a worse motherfucker to quit cold turkey than opioids. But anyway, whatever he's taking, he's not going to be getting it in jail. Um, and when you start going into withdrawal, here's something else I know a lot about is chronic pain and withdrawal. It makes you crazy, man. I am not the same person I was before I got hurt. I've done some crazy, fucked up things. I mean, it causes physical changes in the brain, and it messes with you when you start feeling worthless and stuff like that. And it drives you out of your fucking mind. And then you start putting pharmaceuticals on top of it, and it just makes things that much worse. So if that's the case, you really aren't going to be able to predict what he was thinking.
But I mean, what's his days look like? So if he's not in a car, how's he getting between? They said that he went between basically Philadelphia or up in the northeast Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh back, and then finally ended up Altoona at some point in the middle. Is he taking a bus back and forth? Is he pinging? Was he pinging back and forth? Do you think he's from or has connections to Pennsylvania, which is why he was there after 5 days?
It could be. Fugitives, it just depends on the fugitive. He might have had friends there, but it sounds like he was by himself when he got busted, but I don't know that for a fact. But he might have went someplace where nobody knows him, for a reason, so that nobody could say, "Oh, there he is. Let's get that reward." It sounds like he had money, so he probably had a lot of cash that he could deal with. That's one thing a fugitive should never do. If you're going to go on the run, you can never contact anybody from your life. Nobody. You gotta break all contact. You can't use any bank cards with your name on them, and you would be careful about using one that didn't belong to you because that can also get you busted.
Well, I mean, who's watching that? But okay, my credit card processing people can see my transactions, but and the CIA doesn't give a shit about me. So what law enforcement agency can immediately say MasterCard? If this pings a credit card, we now have an overriding subpoena. Like, what is the data exchange?
All of them can do that. All they need is they go to a judge, and it's real easy to get a judge to sign
basically
a subpoena for that.
A subpoena. So it's a data exchanging subpoena. Essentially, that if this person swipes his credit card, MasterCard, if this name comes up, well, number one, how do they know what credit card you have? Like, okay, I've got a Lowe's credit card. If I go, and a Home Depot card. How do they already know my social security number, and they're basically running my credit report and finding what credit cards I have, and then they're going to those credit card agencies and saying, it takes me 5 hours to get a hold of someone at my credit card. Is there a special? I'm just trying to the data exchange.
Yeah, they have a special. It goes straight to the cops. I don't know. I forget the name of the system, and I don't know if every single police agency has it, but the FBI sure as hell has it. But it goes straight to the cops after you get that subpoena turned over. It goes straight to them, then they don't have to mess with anybody.
No, I know, but but then I got to take that subpoena to individual card companies, I guess, and say, if this credit card is used, I want to know about it, basically. And we have a subpoena to know about it, essentially like a data transfer agreement. I don't know. It seems bureaucratic.
Some places, like I could call some places and just tell them who I was, and they wouldn't even check, and they would just give me your information. But law enforcement, they have their own thing where they can just, after they have the warrant signed, they can just go to their own thing. They don't have to go to each and every single individual place. Like, it's already there. Just like when you check your credit report, it's all there. They have the same thing.
So they have a report of all my credit cards. Anytime I use one they don't have to know that I had a Home Depot card. They see that I have a Lowe's and Home Depot, and they have a system that reports to them immediately all my charges on all my cards.
Yeah,
all
when they put your social security number in there and your name, everything pops up. It's all right there.
Wow, that's great. That's
And
wow.
we had.
Let me take. Hold
I
on. Let me
dealt more
write
with.
this down.
Yeah, dude, you cannot use any kind of credit cards at all.
I'm taking notes, by the way, Bill. But anyway, okay.
You should.
All right. So
yeah, you got to cut contact with everybody you know. You can't call them. Certainly get rid of your cell phone. Don't carry a phone at all. Use all cash.
I mean, are they tapping if they know my phone number, are they got an immediate tap to when I make a phone call from that phone number, they immediately they're tapped into it.
Yeah, they will know exactly where you're at because your phone transmits. Even if you turn off the location thing on your phone, it's still transmitting where you are, and they can see that. So you don't even have to make a phone call, and they can still track you.
Which is why he was found with $8,000. This poor little kid was found with $8,000 worth of cash, and he alleges now that it was planted. But that is in line with somebody on the run, right? I mean, they've got to have a great deal of cash to operate.
Yeah.
How do I go?
And the fake IDs.
Where's he staying though, Bill? Is he staying? What's the likelihood he stayed in a hotel or he stayed not in a hotel and stayed outside? Somebody, which is why
he could be staying. Could be staying outside, or like you can't go to any good hotels because most of them make you have a credit card. So you're staying in places that you can rent by the hour, you know.
Okay, I know them. I know. Yeah. So you just go in and
campgrounds
make a deal.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, I'm not telling them very much, right? I'm just saying, hey, I'm hiding from a deranged business partner, and I don't really want to share my ID. How do I even go to a seedy hotel and basically say, I don't want to give you my ID, but here's $100, pipe down about it? I mean, do I make it?
There are places that'll do it. There are places that'll do it, like not the Hilton, you know, but
right, yeah.
I mean, and there's always campgrounds.
Hilton Diamond membership points, right?
Right.
There's these campgrounds that you could. Well, I mean, but you got to bring your own gear, or you got to come show up with a donated RV.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't have to glamp. I camp with a tarp and a blanket. You know what I mean? So if you're willing to rough it, which for a guy with a bad back, it is tough, but it's doable. And if he's taking buses all over, he can just keep riding a bus and sleep on the bus. And, you know, I don't know. He wasn't really that far away from, he was only like 100 miles away from where he shot the guy, right? So
what's the likelihood that he rented a hotel room?
Oh man, I can't put a number. A lot of our guys that were actively running. See, there are some of the people we went after, like they didn't know they had a warrant, like they forgot they had a court date or whatever. But the ones that were actually actively running, most of the time they didn't have a big pile of cash they could deal with, so they were going out of state and staying with friends, or they would just meet, especially if they're on meth, they will just meet new people that are also on meth and just kind of take off with them, you know, and they already kind of break things off with their family. But we'll still go and talk to them. Usually if they've got a baby mama and they're on the run, chances are they owe child support. And that baby mama will be able to tell you either where they are at that moment or places where they think that they would go. And the baby mamas are almost always right.
Wait, but how often do baby mama produce how often do women betray their man? How often do they rat him out? Half the time?
If they're not together anymore and he owes child support, immediately.
Okay. All right. So a woman who has broken up, no loyalty, immediately, boom, cough it up, no problem. They'll give you the information you need. Do you tip them, or do you
Hmm.
just say, do you tip? Are you allowed to pay people?
Sometimes.
Like,
Oh
hey,
yeah, we pay people for information all the time. But the thing about baby mamas is those they won't even ask if there's a reward. They'll just tell you. Sometimes
well,
we
yeah,
offered
just
money
foreign
for.
baby mamas. I'm thinking about, like, how about a baby mama in a good standing? Like they're in a
Um,
relationship still. How often would they come up with it?
sometimes that would do it. Sometimes we would like if we knew where somebody was at. Sometimes we'd have to start applying pressure to get them to break. You know, and that's not always a pleasant thing to do. Um, I'll give you an example, and we did this more than once. It's a last resort thing. It was for us anyway. I know guys that would just immediately start tearing heads off or whatever, but um, like in Indiana anyway, any address that is on their bond application, we can go into that place without a warrant, without any extra. We can just go. We don't need anything. Um, we would always knock and announce. We didn't just go around kicking people's doors in. But one thing we would do is put up 24-hour surveillance on the place, make sure, and not be sneaky about it, make sure they know they're being watched. And then we would send them something by registered mail that would tell them, hey, for harboring a fugitive in the state of Indiana, it's a possibility of $5,000 fine and or 5 years in jail. And then we'd go and ask nicely a couple of times. And if that wasn't working, or if they started being assholes,
How often
we
did
would.
that? Let's be honest though. How often did that actually get charged? Rarely, if someone
We
was
we
uncooperative.
never we never pursued it. If that was pursued,
Gotcha.
it was on the cops. We never pursued it.
Right. So you would threaten it, but you hardly ever used it. Basically, an
Right.
empty threat.
We,
Basically.
they would break before it came to that.
Yeah.
And if somebody like if somebody has a high bond, somebody had to put up collateral, whether it was cars or houses or whatever. And if somebody put up their house and their kid didn't go to court, what we would do is when they were bonding out, we would have them sign a quick claim deed. So if the dude skipped out on bond, we could just go take their house and kick him out if we wanted to.
Now
We never
Jenny
actually
T
did
is
that, but
Now Jenny's trolling me. Now you can
what?
side with me on this. Now I got Jenny T trolling me too. I feel like Sam has never watched any crime show or Dog the Bounty Hunter. Bill, you can tell me that Dog the Bounty Hunter bullshit is that whole series is bullshit.
He's a real bounty hunter, and they were real fugitives. But there was a lot, like they made him kind of look like a bigger douchebag than he really is. Um, sometimes I found out one trick they did was you only see what's on one side of the camera. Sometimes
Right.
what you didn't see was the 10 to 30 uniformed off-duty officers that volunteered to show up with the
Right.
show. So sometimes what you
Exactly.
don't see is they had a lot more backup than what you normally get.
Right. Right. Giving you a false impression and not the whole story, and not what you actually encounter with no cameras and behind your in front of you or whatever.
Yeah.
But um, well, are you surprised that he didn't do a murder sort of suicide? Normally, we see these people do high profile things and they're killing themselves.
No, 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 it doesn't surprise me at all because obviously this whoever the shooter is uh, has a message to send out. So they would want to stay alive to make sure their message got out and to keep getting it out. And I mean, we don't know that wasn't in the back of his mind. As I mean, he obviously had a plan to get away because he had the bike and he got away. But a lot of times that's people's intention. They're like, I'm gonna shoot that bitch and I'm gonna blow my own head off, and then they shoot somebody and then they realize that turning the gun on yourself is not the easiest thing.
And I hate to be like totally, I mean, I don't trust the media at all, but I mean, I actually read what they say. And this is, I mean, the trail of evidence tying him to the crime, including the suspect's fingerprints and handwritten notebook entries. Recovered a spiral notebook, right, that he had with him when he was arrested. Fingerprints and DNA. They were able to identify Mangione as the suspect quickly because of forensic evidence tying him to the crime. We have DNA. I mean, and we have
Well,
fingerprints.
why did they already have his DNA? Why did they have his DNA? Why did they have DNA to compare it to? Because not everybody's DNA is in the system. Like if you do that, I won't do it. But like the 23andMe stuff, you don't realize it, but your stuff is your DNA and your family's DNA is going in the system. Or if you committed a felony in the past, they will take your DNA. So how did they get his DNA to compare it to the crime scene?
Before I forget this, we were talking about the credit cards that the government has access to it, U.S. Marshals, et cetera, et cetera. Do you, as a private bounty hunter, have access to any of the resources the government, or will they share anything with you?
Sort of.
Or are they a bunch of small dick jerks?
We paid a lot of people off.
Oh no, yeah, no.
Especially with phone companies.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about like the actual book. What does the book say versus what you actually have to do? So the book will never tell you what you actually have to do in the real world. But from the book perspective, are you able to wiretap a fugitive's phone? Are you able to do the credit card stuff? Are you able to have any of those tools?
Legally?
Will the government
here's the deal.
To you by the book.
That is a gray area because people want to fight us on it. But the federal law that governs, we don't even really like the term bounty hunters. I just use it because it's what people know. But fugitive recovery agents, there's a real short federal law that governs us. It's Taylor versus Tanner. And in that, it says you can arrest your fugitive on the Sabbath, blah, blah, blah. And there's a part in there, a sentence that says, by any means necessary. And that's where people get that a bounty hunter could just walk up behind a guy and shoot him in the head. Now, that is partially true. If you are the bondsman by federal law, if you're the bondsman and it's your money on the line, you can do that because it says by any means necessary. Now, if you're a hired out bounty hunter, then you can't. You can shoot the guy if he's, resisting you too much or whatever. But there are, because we're private citizens and we're not actually sworn law enforcement officers.
Right.
There are some things we can get away with that the cops can't, and there are a lot of gray areas. And I will tell you with the phone companies, and I probably shouldn't say this, but like with the cell phone companies, they weren't supposed to give us anything.
Yeah.
But we always had a list of names of people on the inside that we could call, and for a fee, they would give us whatever we wanted.
Like at my local AT&T like retail authorized location, or I would have to have.
No,
they can't. You'd have to know someone like at the corporate data firm, like that's collecting all of the whereabouts and the pinpoint. So somehow you would have existing relationships with people on the inside that would have that information in the cell phone with the cell phone carrier.
Yeah. We had lists of names on there where, like, if somebody was in Mexico, our powers are no good in Mexico. But we had lists of names. If we knew a guy was in Mexico, we could call these people and set the price or whatever and say, and they would go kidnap him and actually take him to the border in a spot in the desert and just shove him over the line, and we would take possession of him. Now, if you get caught, you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble, or they will, but,
It was kind of a narrow decision of the Supreme Court. It's fascinating to me that these laws and this decision that you're now quoting century later or longer is the driving force behind what dictates what you can get away with. Literally, people from right after the Civil War on a narrow of majority, 4-3, with 2 Supreme Court justices abstaining or not voting for whatever reason. Taylor versus Tainter. Interesting term.
Yes.
Taint.
1870. What? 1870.
1872. Yep. 1872 was a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that has credited as having decided that a person to whom a suspect is remanded, such as a bail bondsman, has sweeping rights to recover the suspect.
Yes.
It is not the holding of the case, but a single paragraph in the middle of the majority. Here, it is not the holding of the case, but so literally by a thread, by a paragraph of a 4-3 decision 140 years ago is why the bail bondsman has the rights that they do because of this.
Yep.
One paragraph, which states, when bail is given, the principal is regarded as delivered to the custody of his sureties. Their dominion is a continuance of the original imprisonment. Whenever they choose to do so, they may seize him or her and deliver him or her up in their discharge. And if that cannot be done at once, they may imprison him until it can be done. They may exercise their rights in person or by agents. They may pursue him into another state, may arrest him on the Sabbath, and if necessary, may break and enter his house for that purposes, or her house. The seizure is not made by virtue of what? Oh, that you can break in? The seizure is not made by virtue of new process. None is needed. It is likened to the rearrest by the sheriff of an escaping prisoner. I don't know what this means. In 6 Modern, it is said, in 6 Modern, it is said, the bail have their principal on a string and may pull. Is that why you got named pulling? Oh, no. So
somebody figured it out.
Oh my God. Look at these motherfuckers.
I told you all there was more than one reason. I told you all there was more than one reason why I named it this, but I never revealed that.
In chat that are trolling me, including Jenny T. Now I have finally enlightened you all of why Bill is known as pulling the strings. Not because he's behind the scenes of this dumbass community pulling the strings, but by this paragraph
that too.
In Taylor versus Tainted. I know, but they want us to believe, Bill, that there wasn't your alternate reasons here. The bail have their principal on a string and may pull the string whenever they please and render him in their discharge. The rights of the bail in civil and criminal cases are the same. They may doubtless permit him to go beyond the limits of the state within which he is to answer, but it is unwise and imprudent to do so. And if any evil ensue, they must bear the burden of the consequences and cannot cast them upon the obligee.
Amen.
That is Taylor versus Tainter. A 1872 Supreme Court ruling on a 4-3 decision. No reason given why the 2 other justices, which there was a justice of 9 at the time. But anyway, cool, Bill. So that is your reasons for pulling the strings. One of them.
It's a reason, yeah. There are multiple. It's a guitar thing, and part of it really is because people always say, "Oh, he's pulling the strings, man." So yeah, there's multiple reasons.
So he's probably not staying in a hotel, but he probably could because, I mean, I guess if he made the right arrangements, but again, he would be on a phone. It looked like he had a computer. Or do did they say if he was found with a phone?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Let me get back to this. So, Bill, they've got his fingerprints and DNA. So your question is how they had his DNA. I don't know how they had his DNA, but they've got his DNA. I mean, we have DNA, we have fingerprints that's being processed. They took his fingerprints when they booked him into jail, and those prints matched those left behind on a water bottle in a Kind bar found close to the scene of the shooting. Now, that's pretty odd to me that you would have your fingerprints. That's like touch DNA, sort of. I don't know. That's iffy.
Well, that's kind of what one of the things that tipped me off that he wasn't really a pro hitman is because a pro hitman would know better. You're gonna have everything you need with you, and you ain't taking your gloves off to touch shit. It's hard and as tempting as it is, you wouldn't pull your mask down to flirt with a girl.
Yeah. When the suspect, so they found it on a protein bar wrapper, this Kind bar. Of course, he's someone that would buy a $5 Kind bar, and a bottle water. He also is a match for prints found on a cell phone recovered near the site, Bill. I mean, the case is growing. Police said that a 3D printed gun and suppressor found in Mangione's backpack at the time of his arrest was consistent with the weapon used to shoot and kill Thompson, and that they matched the gun. This is where I guess for all these people in the chat that say they're gun experts and they're trolling me, more inclined to listen to what Bill has to say, but that they matched the gun in his backpack to 3 spent 9mm shell casings found at the scene of the crime. So is a shell casing like a fingerprint? There's no other way for it to happen, basically.
Well, again, it goes back to how good is that that science. They used to convict people all the time based on bite marks, and then they learned that bite marks are not reliable, and now they're kind of saying the same thing about shell casings. Like you can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt what kind of gun it came from, what model it came from, because of the shape of the unless there's like a chip out of the extractor that leaves a distinct mark. You're talking about thousands, sometimes millions of guns that are all the same. You know what I mean? And unless there's something like a chip or something that, because a few years ago they tried to push this thing through where they would have to put the gun's serial number microscopically on the firing pin so that when it hit the primer, left the indentation, it would leave a number behind. But they found out that that could not be done on that small of a scale. So, and plus there were some safety issues also.
Well, so are you?
So if they can't make a number show up reliably, then how are you going to make a scratch show up reliably unless there's like a big old chip out of it?
So you would, if you're a juror, okay, if you're a juror and I'm the prosecutor and I'm saying, juror, Bill, this casing matched the gun that it came from. How? I mean, is it like junk science now, or is it just unreliable science, basically?
I've heard it referred to as junk science.
So essentially, the shell casing cannot definitively say, without a doubt, like a fingerprint, that it goes to that gun, essentially. So, which I would consider it junk science then. I mean, unless you can give me.
That's what, and more experts are saying that now. But you still have people that have made entire careers out of going to court and being expert witnesses on shell casings. So of course, they're going to say, "Oh no, it's 100% reliable because I make $100,000 a year saying that it is." You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And it took a long time to get bite marks out of the system too.
That happened in the case of that guy. Michael Peterson. What was the case of Michael Peterson? It was like the whole thing got thrown out because there was a corrupt DNA expert. Michael Peterson. Yeah, the guy that allegedly killed his wife. There was I think it was in North Carolina, but basically some corrupt crackpot from the North Carolina Bureau of Investigations lab was totally corrupt and on the take, and he basically backed up the story. He planted stuff. Michael Peterson. And it was like until that time, he had been involved in like 1,000 prosecutions, and he was totally corrupt. And Michael Peterson's story, or, he had money and stuff and he was rich and like Luigi. And so he's going to great lengths to do this appeal because he gets convicted. And basically, it takes all this time to come up, and only during the appeals process, where Michael Peterson had $5 million to spend on an appeal, that it comes out that this North Carolina corrupt, let me get his name. I
think Danielle's talking about Drew Peterson. Could that be who you're talking about? Because I'm not familiar with the
Michael Peterson. No, I got it. Michael Peterson. He was a novelist. He's convicted of murdering his second wife, Kathleen. And I'm trying to get and it's among them Mike Nifong. This was the days of Michael Nifong. Do you remember Nifong from the Dirty Durham guy?
No.
Prosecutor with the Duke Lacrosse people. Well, anyway, that's a separate discussion. But the Duke Lacrosse people, the Duke Lacrosse players were falsely accused of raping a African American prostitute and had their lives ruined, got well paid for it. Many people have gotten their lives ruined on false allegations and gotten nothing, like the case that I just posted on my community page of the janitor who spent 5 years in jail awaiting trial, was acquitted, and had his life destroyed by some false accusations. But I'm trying to get the expert that the Michael Peterson and the DNA expert fraud.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Lacrosse case, but you got to understand, I've never really watched a whole lot of TV, so there's a lot of things I never hear about.
Huh.
I'll let people up here as long as you don't come up here for the explicit purpose of trolling Sam. If anybody has anything they want to add or ask.
No, let them up here. Let up people up here, Bill. I don't. Let's see how all these experts, all these gun experts that you have in chat, let them up here. Let's see how smart they are. Michael Peterson. Who was the guy that was involved? North Carolina. Expert DNA accused. It was like a truck found close to the scene. I'm sorry, Bill. I'm trying to find this. I'm assuming the chat's not going to help me with this case because it's kind of a. Well, anyway, it was a guy working for the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation, and he was making bullshit up.
There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of drug labs in the last few years, or testing labs, I should say, where they were just kind of checking boxes and shoving it through because they were behind. And there's been a few of those lab people that have gone to jail and tons of cases dismissed.
Yeah, and then it taints all the other cases, and then you let a bunch of people, and then they hardly ever get punished when they do. It's like, okay, you ruined 500 cases, so we'll give you 2 years in jail.
Yeah.
But so so back to this case, Luigi. He stays in the state of Pennsylvania, regardless of maybe he has some people he's staying with. He's definitely not using his ID with a credit card. He's negotiating deals. He's staying at campgrounds, probably taking the bus, not renting a car, not using a car, not having a car, making it harder for him
probably
to
not.
track. I mean, I guess he retains the evidence from the crime scene, according to the police. And I mean, rare for someone to keep the evidence on them. Is that one of the reasons why you said that, like, he should have gotten rid of it? I mean, does that not show someone's state of mind, that they thought that they either were going to get away with it or they knew that they were going to get caught? One or the other. Why would someone keep all of that stuff on their persons?
Exactly. He should have ditched it immediately. And I did see one news account. I don't remember what network it was, but they had divers in the water because they said that they knew that gun had been thrown in the water there. So, I mean, what happened to that?
Well, they said that there was a gun that had thrown. I didn't remember them saying that.
Yeah, they had divers. Yeah, they said that I don't remember how they worded it, but they knew that the gun was in that water and they had divers in there looking for it. But, I mean, was it there or wasn't it? And then how many backpacks did this guy have? They said they found a backpack full of Monopoly money. Like why didn't he have two? I mean, we don't know. It was in the one we could see, but was it wadded up in the first backpack? There wasn't a whole lot of room in there. But they said they found that backpack full of Monopoly money. So you know what I mean? There's a lot that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, you sound like Johnny Cochran, Bill. I mean, I just feel like I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if the glove doesn't fit after you put 17 gloves on and you have, a majority of jurors who are, making decisions based on emotion and racial injustice, then yeah, I mean, you could possibly find him not guilty. But I don't know. According to the police, which is according to the media, they found the clothes that he was wearing that looked like what was on the videotape. He was in possession of the same fake ID that was at the hostel. So they, at least at the very least, they matched whoever was simping in that photo with the hostel worker to him at the McDonald's in Altoona. That is at least the same guy, because he's in possession of the same fake ID that was found on his person to the hostel.
And how did they figure out? I mean, they can backtrack cameras, you know what I mean? Because there's cameras everywhere. But how did they know that he was at the hostel to begin with? Did they call and say, "Hey, I think that's the guy"? Or
well, this brilliant Gen Z assassin went to New York City, where there's like 400,000 cameras, and like every movement that you make. I mean, there's cameras inside the taxi cabs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he didn't commit, in Montana. He did it like a Gen Z assassin would. He did it in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue in New York City. I just don't think that it would be that hard to trace it back. That's me. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm asking is because they do that a lot, and plus Most big cities have, it's not, what is it called? Not shot collar.
Yeah, shock spotter.
Any shot spotter, is that what it is? But yeah,
Shot spotter.
like it
Yeah.
can tell instantly where a shot came from.
Well, can they do it when there's
Um,
a sound suppressant? I wonder.
the suppressor should eliminate that, which might be the reason he had it. But again, he did it right. There were people right next to him,
Yeah.
that I would think called the cops immediately anyway. So I think that the suppressor thing was a total waste for him, because he wasn't
Yeah.
trying to hide anything.
Yeah, there's a company that many cities are using, Shot Spotter, where they're able to allegedly track when a gunshot goes off. And they're probably making a bunch of money off of fleecing local governments. But anyway, I don't know if that's an interesting technology. Know how many
Yeah, well,
crimes
that
involved.
technology was developed for actually for soldiers in Iraq, because like if a sniper was shooting at them, you can't always tell where a sniper is at. But they developed that technology to put on the Humvees, and it would tell them right where the sniper was, and that's where the technology came from.
Um,
I love
so
that we have so many gun-toting ladies in this community.
look out. Yeah, look out though if I don't know. So you would potentially disarm Booby after seeing her weapon skills.
I wouldn't want to infringe on anybody's right to own a gun, but that woman needs some training.
Right.
I mean, she put her family in danger with the way she was pounding on a loaded gun like that and pointing it at a wall, which presumably had people on the other side.
Do you know, I mean, has Locke essentially hang up the boots? Is he totally out? Do you ever talk to Locke anymore? Or
I haven't talked to him in a while. I don't. It sounds like he's done, and I don't blame him if he is.
yeah.
Who knows? He might just go live one day and surprise us all.
Whose other streams do you drop in now and again?
Not many.
FCC's. You see
Yeah,
FCC's much? You'll go to his.
yeah. I still watch FCC. Pull over, but he keeps shutting channels down and starting over again.
I don't know
Um,
why he did.
I, I,
He's got
I,
one.
I don't
He's got that cigar face as one of his channels, right?
cigar face.
He's got
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like his shows. Yeah. There's not very many that I bother with anymore.
You watch any catchers anymore?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who you watch? He was Black Biden. Now he's
Yeah. Big Bad Wolf.
Big Bad Wolf. Yeah. I like him. I like him.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't. I don't think I've ever chatted in his, but I do watch his catches. I've been chatting in. Alex got one of his old channels back somehow. Jeff took credit for that, by the way. But yeah, I'm glad
surprise,
to see
surprise. Jeff
Alex
took
back
credit
on
for that.
YouTube.
Yeah. He got a good one. I'm on his locals, and he got a good one from locals yesterday or last night. It was some immigration attorney, and the guy was just really blasé, just very. I don't know if that he's just very matter of fact about all this CSAM that he was looking at, and yeah, sometimes I'll look at it, sometimes I'll pass on. Oop, that might get. And he's just so the numbness to these people or what they're looking at and what they're into, and it's like it was crazy. And this guy, I think he happened to be gay, but no matter. It was just his arrogance was kind of astounding. And then when reality hit and that they learned that they were going to report this and call the police, he sort of has this mental break. He's got, he's clutching his stomach then, and he's, I don't know, acting or actually kind of coming to the terms. It's amazing to see some of these people that in private, they'll do all this stuff and everything, and they'll have no problem with it. But when it becomes exposed, they have these physiological responses in some cases, and this guy just had like melted down. But yeah, I watch that. And who changed styles kind of was PvP. He went from doing interviews to now almost exclusively working with the police. You hardly get an interview from him.
I do. Yeah. When he first got started, the police wouldn't work with him for nothing. But yeah, I do watch him. I do PvP before he had a channel. I met him actually on the very first, I believe CPP, the very first Discord they had. I helped him when he first got started. I helped him kind of get things going a little bit.
Who, Alex, or you said CPP or Alex?
PvP.
Oh, PvP. Oh, you
said
CPP. A lot of PPs around here. But haven't you noticed he sort of almost changed his style, and now all the police arrest him. Arrest his catches, but he doesn't. He's sort of now doing very little interviewing, and he's doing mainly. I don't know if he turns it all over to the police prior or what, but essentially he shows up and the arrest takes it. The arrest, he just films basically the arrest takes place when the arrival happens of the predator.
Yeah. The police seem like they already know what's going on. So the last PvP one I watched, he pepper sprayed a guy. This dude was coming at him with a laptop, was going to smack him, and he just pepper sprayed his ass.
Hey, be kind. Yeah, I get a good amount of advice, and to be honest, I was being funny. This is old experience from gun representatives from years ago, but really the issue is seeing people that are kind of dipping their toe, new people that I know, and people that are interested in buying a gun. I have heard, and my own experience from years ago, gun people could be a little bit nicer and more educational and friendlier to. It's a big deal when someone walks through that gun shop, and it's a big deal for them in their life. They probably told their family and friends and their network that they're finally going to make a decision to buy a gun. They probably have gotten a lot of advice. They're probably still confused. They're probably at the basic level. And, you walk in there and you've got these meathead type people that, JD delay types, I guess, that want to, I don't know what their goal is. If is their goal to like get customers or drive people away? But they're in business. Being in business, you want customers and you want to treat them right. A lot of women are starting to buy guns. Hey, if someone comes through my door and she wants this pink H&K USP tactical 9mm gun, I'm going to damn well get her one. Or a pink Gemtech Sounds present, I'm going to get her one. I'm not going to judge her for it. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but I'll get what the customer wants. I'm not going to judge the customer. And I just see a lot of judgment and egos and all that.
There is a lot of that in the gun world. I don't like it either.
And I just think it could be a friendlier environment. So who knows? Maybe I'll go out and get my FFL license and have this community call in every the ATF and have my ATF at my door every day by tele, trying to verify if I have a license or not, right?
Right.
I mean, now
What a
there's a
loser.
guy who has never seen the inside of a gun store. I think we can say that. That pretty safe
No.
bet, Bill. Telly has not seen the inside of a gun store.
Yeah, considering he's from Australia and they outlawed guns several years ago.
All right, I got a couple new Gen Z millennial things going around. Bill, have you seen this nut? This woman who had sex with 100 men in a night, and now everybody's crying about for her. Have you
Oh
heard
yeah,
about
she
this
had a
story?
breakdown. I
Yeah,
saw that interview where she broke down, yeah.
yeah, and she's advertising that she's making a mockery of it, that she's having sex with barely legal men, barely legal, and she basically, now everybody's supposed to cry for her. She, what do you make of this? Only if you let me screen share, I'll show you a little. Can you let me screen share?
Yeah, do we get to see titties? Oh, I
Damn well
forgot
close
to.
to it.
I canceled you out again. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm putting it on now.
The grim reality. The grim
Yeah,
reality.
she did the 100 guys to warm up to do 1,000. Yeah.
I'm surprised she can still walk. A top OnlyFans has called out fellow creator Lily Phillips over her dangerous sex stunts and insisting that it should not be normalized.
I bet her
Shocked
coochie looks
the
like a
world.
cow patty after a bicycle ran through it.
I don't know, Bill. I think you'd still dip your toes in.
No,
Who earns
no.
7 figures on OnlyFans? Cassidy. I totally respect female empowerment. Let women fuck as much as they want wherever, can make their own decisions, but this kind of behavior isn't sustainable or healthy in the long run, Bill.
Yeah, I might titty fuck her, but I'm just not into.
And then, okay, well, anyway, the big thing is basically they want me, which I will not. They want the viewer. Okay. I'm, my sympathy card and empathy card for certain type of conduct is unavailable at this point in my life. But they're now putting out, they had this other dude that was doing, I forgot, he's another YouTuber, Josh Peterson, something like that. He documented this whirlwind tour of debauchery, and like it showed her mental health. To be honest, she didn't even seem like she wanted to do it. It seemed like her team had set this up and she couldn't go back on it. She was very hesitant. There. Now is this she seemed hesitant to do this, and it seemed like she had a team. Now that's a different set of boobs, is it not, Bill?
I would have to get a closer look to be sure, in my professional opinion.
Okay,
That
well,
might have been before and after a boob job, but see, she's got her arms up in the air too, and that kind of.
that does it.
Yeah.
But I mean, those look pretty sizable in that picture. And
Yeah, like I said, I titty fuck her, but I ain't going downstairs on that bitch.
instead of judging anyone, I think we need to have real conversations about why people feel the need to do this and what kind of support they need to avoid it. Because social media loves it. She's got a bunch of free media. She's making millions of dollars. She then cries and has everybody feel sorry for her because she agreed to take 100 and now possibly 1,000 cocks. And now she wants me to feel bad for her. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for you. You made your own decisions, and here she is crying. I mean, she's not. My shoulder's not available to cry on here. Okay. She felt robotic during the act, on top of being racked with guilt that she wasn't giving all the men an experience that they wanted. She also had them sign all these.
Oh, that's what she was guilty about?
Despite her poor experience betting 100 men, Lily is determined to raise the bar by sleeping with 1,000 men in 24 hours. And here's this other story where this lady got evicted. She got expelled. What's it called when you get kicked out of a country? Deported.
Deported or excommunicated. Yeah, deported. Is that the one
Bonnie,
where like she was there specifically to
have sex with barely legal men? Teens, barely legal teens. So this is another thing. This is it. The glorification of something that I cover routinely, which is this topic. But this is another.
I'm not up to date on my porn stars, but yeah.
Well, let me bring you up to date, Bill.
When I was younger, I did, especially when the internet, like when you realize that on the internet machine was just for free porn. Hell yeah, I looked at it a lot. But when you start to learn, like most of these women are like coerced into it or forced, and
like
if you get used to watching whatever.
Not with OnlyFans nowadays, Bill. These women don't seem to be forced on. I mean, they were forced to have sex with barely legal teens. I mean, this is a decision.
Well, you look what Andrew Tate. You look what. This is why I don't like Andrew Tate. You look what he. Allegedly,
right?
Allegedly, yeah, but he's just an example. I mean, what's that little punk's name that just crashed his McLaren? Like he's doing the same thing.
Aiden Ross or I know.
No.
Jack Doherty, that fucking little
Doherty. I would love to fucking uppercut that little bitch, but
no, but he's got like 10 security guards around him. That's what he does. He goes up to average people in the mall or people walking or people eating, people that don't have 50 million followers, dumb Gen Z followers that are paying them $10 a month. And they go and harasses people on the street, gets in their face, says shit to them, gets it on film. And then he's got like 4 huge dudes that step in front of him when people step to him. He's a little punk.
Yeah.
Total fucking punk. Anyway, Bill, the Australian government, led by a man named the Home Affairs and Immigration Minister, Telly, has deported Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight. Schoolies, I guess they're Schoolies endeavors, which is the recreation. I guess it's Schoolies. I don't even know. Is that recreation?
That's the Australian word for like young guys that are graduating or young people that are just graduating high school.
And then Fiji dumped her too. I have exercised my authority under the Immigration Act to declare Tia Billinger, known as Bonnie Blue, a prohibited immigrant. Last week, it was confirmed that Blue's visa in Australia was canceled. This was on the grounds of allegations that she intended to contravene her 12-month visa by working in Australia. It was her intention to work and not the Schoolies campaign. They're calling her desire to have sex with barely legal teenagers a campaign for women's rights. This is the new women's rights here. Are we getting anywhere?
Flip that around and make her a guy and make the young people females and see how that goes.
Right. Of course. But I mean, we do see some. But guess what? Who was mad about all of this? Again, we see the men cower. The men are a bunch of pussies. And it's the middle-aged Karens leading the charge to take action against Bonnie Blue. Dare say not a single man complained about this at all. And it was the women, the Karens, that came to the rescue to put the kibosh on the barely legal teenage boys in porn. She had previously said her content with barely legal teen boys performed incredibly well online, earning her loads of cash for the clips. But this decision wasn't the only time the 25-year-old had been at the center of controversy. She once boldly blamed the wives of men who committed adultery, stating it's their fault for moaning too much and not knowing how to pleasure their husbands.
Oh, shots fired. And this is how Prohibition got started.
Oh, yeah. I think I sympathize a little bit with those Prohibition ladies. Then she took widespread criticism for her controversial views on marriage after the $1,500 an hour sex worker made similar remarks while appearing on the Kyle and Jackie O show. So is this more in line with you? You might dip your toes in this pair, Bonnie Blue?
Bonnie Blue because she wanted the money. Oh, again, I'm not into chicks that have had like 1,000 cocks in them. Well, especially recently. I mean, a past is a past, right? But yeah, I'd titty fuck them, and that's about it.
Meanwhile, Knight is on a bid to sleep with 600 people by the end of the year. Blue and Knight aren't the only sex workers who've targeted schoolies students, with porn star K. Manuel being knocked up and knocked out and kicked out of Airbnb in Queensland for sleeping with 55 school leavers. She noticed that she was being booted from her Gold Coast rental penthouse on Sunday after spending the morning recording scenes with a group of 20 school graduates who all knew each other from competing on a sport team in Victoria. The real climax came when the professional sex worker found out she wouldn't be refunded the almost $15,000 she'd already paid to hire the palatial apartment for the 2 weeks. And they even charged her a cleaning fee, even though there was no mess. Right, Bill? There was no mess.
I'd fucking... Right, yeah. I'd have guys in there in biosuits spraying shit down.
I just heard of Bonnie the other day. Her mother helps her. Back in the day, you thought like, how do these people go home to their parents, tell their parents? Now the parents are in on it. The parents are getting cut in on the money. And that apparently parenthood has changed when money gets dabbled in front of you.
Yeah, I still wouldn't bite it. I mean, part of the deal, I mean, there's more to it than this, but like that's going to be, once something's on the internet, it never goes away. And somebody out of the fucking thousands and thousands later on, that kid's face could be picked out, whether it's for a job or a potential partner or whatever. There's a lot of ramifications to doing this stuff that people don't think about.
Yeah, no, I know. And I laugh about it because I try to have a sense of humor with stuff because people have my tone. And I need to lighten up a little bit. But I mean, this is, all around. I mean, you're talking about women chasing after very young men, and that's praised and glorified.
I mean,
money train happens, and it's like, this is, go ahead, Bill. Sorry, I wanted to.
Since this is all about business, if the parents are getting a cut to not say anything about their, even though the kids are legal age, you are still pimping out your kid. You know what I mean? And
yeah. When you're signing your rights away forever and eternity for that image to be used forever. They own you. It's like movie stars make money because you're using this person's image forever. They have the rights to this film forever. And with porn, it's like for $400, $800, these high school graduate male performers are, they're probably paying them $100, $200, if that, giving them a drink, and they own you. They own your image for the rest of you. I mean, you can't go buy a drink at that age at 18, but you can sign away life rights to your sexual image for the rest of your life that they can use. It's kind of weird. And then the women are, I'm sure that it's damaging to their psyche, but they are making a mockery of it here. Anyway, this is The Room. K. Manuel had sex with 20 high school graduates and was left tidied, but plenty of mess was found after it was sprayed with luminol. I know luminol
Yeah.
luminol is from Forensic Files, and they say this line a lot. And a blue light was then shined on it. According to an ex-Forensic Files employee, it lit up like a Christmas tree. So for those that watch, I'm a huge Forensic Files fan, and that's what they say all the time. So that person was clever. Kevin Clout.
I mean, if she has had as many pricks sticking out of her, she's had stuck in her, she'd be a fucking porcupine.
Netflix should live stream this stuff. Jake Paul could be the promoter, or Joey Chestnut. Interesting. All right. Well, that's crazy. So, do you think? Well, he wasn't out on bond, right? How did this? I did have a question though. How were they able? How was he? They had not charged him with murder yet. Bill, we're back to Luigi Mangione. They had not charged him with murder and had a warrant yet, and yet he got arrested for the firearm and false ID. How come he wasn't entitled to post bail at that time when he didn't have that sort of superseding warrant for murder?
Extra, because they know he's going to be extradited.
Well, so you can be held without bond,
depending on I mean, he's a potential murder suspect, and kind of depends on the judge. I mean, some judges will say, "Well, you had an illegal gun. You're a danger to the community, so you're not gonna get bond." I mean, they can do that.
And I do, I have some experience too with. I understand that, some of the things
with fake IDs, he's also a flight risk. Like if I went to bond somebody out that had a bunch of fake IDs, I mean, the bondsman doesn't set the bond, but we still have to determine what kind of flight risk they are to decide if we want to bond them or not, or what kind of restrictions we want to put on them, or if we need collateral, or whatever. But yeah, a lot of people don't. And if you haven't dealt with it, you're not really expected to know the system. But we got called all the time. People would say, "I'm in jail and I want to bond out." I'm like, "Okay, how much is your bond?" "I don't know." "All right, I'll call the jail." So I'd call the jail, and they'd be like, "Well, he doesn't have a bond." Sometimes people think that the bondsman sets the bond and takes care of all that, but that's not how it works. The judge will set the bond, and then it's just up to us to decide if we want to take it or not, what kind of restrictions. Which we were pretty lax. We didn't really put restrictions on. We can put any restriction we want to. Legally, you can, and I used to joke with them. I'd say, "Okay, you got to do this, this, and this. Make sure you go to court, and you got to mow my yard every Friday." And most of the time, they'd just be like, "Yeah, okay." I mean, and legally, I could make them do that, but we didn't do that kind of bullshit. Like we could order them into rehab if we wanted. I didn't deal with sex crimes very often, but especially like with the domestic violence, which I dealt with quite a bit. I would tell them on top of whatever the court's doing with you, if I find out you're back over there, or if I find out you hit her again, your bond is going to be immediately revoked, and I ain't going to be nice about it. So we could kind of reinforce what the courts do, but and sometimes this would happen. Whoever bonded them out would call us up, be like, "I want to revoke their bond. I want to revoke their bond." Well, okay, why? Well, I think they're going to take off. Okay, what do you base it? People would post somebody's bond and then get mad at them and try to have them put back in jail.
Well,
Like if they had a valid reason, we would go ahead and revoke it. But
who has the discretion in that? I mean, you ultimately, as the bondsman, have the discretion, right?
yeah, we can revoke a bond anytime we want. We don't need a reason.
No, but I'm saying no. Wait, so there's the signer of the bond. Does everyone have to? The should you ever sign a bond for somebody at all, or are you liable for their like if somebody doesn't
Do you mean
show
be
up?
the co-signer?
Well, no, like
I
someone's
wouldn't.
in jail. No, someone's in jail, right? And they need, they're on a DUI and they need $100 to get out. And they got to have a friend go over or a family member. And what am I signing when I'm going in there to sign? Like I'm paying the $100 to the bondsman or $1,000 or whatever, $100, I guess. And I'm putting my name on a piece of paper that says what?
Oh, well, we didn't always require a co-signer. Like if the guy just gets a DUI, but he's had the same job for 5 years, he's buying a house, he's got kids in school there, that he's not going to run. So for that kind of thing, we didn't even require. Most of the time, didn't require a co-signer. But if they were sketchy or the bond, I had full discretion up to 20, anything over $20,000. I had to have collateral. That was just our rules. I mean, I always had discretion whether to write a bond or not. And it's tough, man. When somebody has a big bond, like 50,000 or higher, that for 50,000 they got to give me 5,000, of which I kept half, and the company got half. So I'm sitting there. I can make $2,500 in 20 minutes, but the guy's a flight risk, so I have an obligation to the companies. You know what I mean? And I walked out on very few. But in that situation, if they had somebody in their life that was willing to give us $50,000 worth of collateral, which was usually their house, which it did happen occasionally.
How do you turn collateral? What is a collateral for a house? Literally, okay. I own a home that's worth $200,000. I have $100,000 left on a mortgage, so I've got $100,000 in equity in this $200,000 house. How do you determine?
It's mine.
Like, do I have to sign you the deed? Like, how do you capture the collateral? How do you get that? Do I sign a form over and say, essentially? But I mean, but the lender has the first rights. They have the first lien against the house, right? I mean, you don't supersede a lien. You don't see the first mortgage.
Yeah, we have them sign a quick claim deed, which means that if we decide, and we never actually did it, though we could have a few times.
You have them sign a quick claim deed. That quick claim deed would still be subject to the first mortgage, but there's equity in the home. So you would, by default, you would actually have them sign a deed. They would sign a deed, and it would be held sort of in escrow or whatever.
Yeah, and I would become. It was like we switched places. I would become the owner of their house, and we could make them get out. And then, of course, we would sell it. We never actually took anybody's house from me. We could have cashed in a few times, because there was a few times where their house was paid for, and say a $75,000 bond, but we would get a $300,000 house as collateral. Now, if we wanted to be assholes, we could have just took it. You know what I mean? But we would give them the opportunity to just pay back the original bond plus whatever expenses were to track the guy down or whatever. Which that's why I would explain things very clearly. Look, if this motherfucker doesn't show up to court, I'm coming for you. If I can't find him, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that was our leverage over, like, if they knew where he was at, they don't want to lose their car, their house, or whatever. I didn't do too much jewelry because I don't really know enough about it to know, like how much is it worth, whatever. But we had a deal worked out with a pawn shop where I could take it there and say, hey, is this worth whatever? And, they would tell us or whatever. But people try to pass off fake Rolexes, and I had that happen a couple of times, which is why I didn't deal in jewelry too much. But yeah.
Were they already?
I actually got. Go ahead.
Were they already customers, or you were verifying the collateral, or were they already collateral? You already signed them up, basically.
No, I would make sure it was real before. Same thing with people a couple of times tried to give me fake $100 bills, but when you handle money enough, you can kind of tell if it's fake. Plus, the bank gave us the pens to mark on them with.
So basically, I give you my.
So
So you don't bond your person out. In this case, with the fake Rolexes, they didn't bond out yet. You didn't sign them up. They weren't
right,
a customer yet. They said,
right,
"What do you got as an asset and to collateral this bond?" And they said, "Well, here's this Rolex." They just gave it to you, and then you said, "Well, it's going to take me a day or two to go down to the, my guy that knows this stuff to verify it."
yeah,
And what was that conversation like? As far as you went and verified it, it was fake, a fake Rolex. Then what? The next day, it's like, nah, bye, get your fake Rolex, and I'm not doing the bond, basically.
right, yeah. We would most of the time. There were a few times where it was like, man, I kind of got a good gut feeling, and that never failed me. So there was a few times where I kind of let shit slide that I shouldn't have, but it worked out okay. Like when it's Christmas Eve and somebody's kid is in jail for being a fucking idiot, and you know what I mean. We're supposed to be all business and money, but my boss said that if you want to work with your conscience, that's fine, but if you fuck that up, you got to pay for it. You know what I mean? So there was a few times where I cut people breaks that I shouldn't have, and it went okay most of the time.
Yeah. Well, there's a nut job in the chat asking me about the trends in the housing market in Texas. Let me tell you, I've looked at the Texas market, and it is depression level there. And so Sam Clinton's, I've done my research, and it tells me to stay away. Troubling.
Yeah,
Let's
see,
say the market is
JJ
troubling.
here knows what's up.
Market is troubling. Well, I haven't seen FCC go live, and there's another thing that Bad Guy was doing these weekly loser of the week, and that sort of has gone the way of the ghost. And rumors are that Damone and Missy are taking a break. So they're here and back again. But for the most part, even before they have exited, it looks like a pretty panned out crowd. I mean, you can only for the people that love the drama, which was a minority of people. Majority of people either never chatted or wanted to be here for positive information and community. The people that hung
those
around,
days are gone.
The people that hung around were like and I guess someone could say, like, is it not us? I don't want to throw myself or you or other people in here, but some of the worst people are the ones that hung around the longest, and some of the best people. And sort of, more of this than I do because you were here early on. The cemetery trip was good. The morgue logs, Dominique. Maybe if Bill lets me promote the logs.
Yeah, please promote your log.
Logs.
What's up, Jacko?
Well, I hate to self-promote, Bill. I'll leave it for people to go over to at the morgue logs on YouTube to watch me and Colfax visit the alpaca grave. Famous story from the late 19th century, Bill, of course, the Colorado cannibal, as they called him.
I don't blame him. I mean, it's not like he was doing it for sport. He was just hungry.
Well, and allegedly, I mean, is it a crime if someone else allegedly kills them and I just return and it's like, well, I'm hungry, they're dead, and I ain't going to kill them, but I may eat them. So
well, they wouldn't even have known had he not just He just confessed to it. Like, I don't think they would have
No, I mean,
known
this
if
is
he
another
wouldn't.
one. Well, it was like, no, but this was a long running thing. The first conviction got tossed. He got a retrial. He confessed again. He first escaped for 9 years when he when he returned home and it was just him. And yeah, he confessed twice, Bill, but his confessions were, people always word it as a confession. They were more like, yeah, I did eat them, but there was confusion about who did the killing. So he confessed to eating, but not killing. I think Colfax is the resident packer. He's the resident packer expert. But if you want to check out the morgue logs, there will be a lot more coming soon. I'm trying to think
Right on. Yeah,
an inside of another one. We put out the John Bonet in front of the house. There's a lot more that I've got that we did filmed in front of the house. It was fun. When we were there, I filmed a lot last year to be when Tommy, Fellows versus Colfax legal proceedings. So I have some more behind the scenes of that whole case that got litigated. But yeah, people just disappeared. What are you hearing about everybody's interest, Bill? Is mostly everybody's are they gone or paying attention? Are they keeping in touch?
I mean, I still talk to people that dropped out of streams a year and a half ago, but they're all saying the same thing. Just kind of the people that started doing lives and doing all the dragging and replaying his shit just kind of killed the community. Everybody says the same thing. And it's something that kind of irritates me is they say that and some of them say it jokingly, but some of them mean it. Oh man, it's just, this is your fault. You stopped gatekeeping. If you would have kept gatekeeping, these people would still be here. You can't, unless you have something on somebody, you can't really keep people out. And then everybody started calling themselves a gatekeeper, and that fucked up the whole thing. And yeah.
Well, I mean, who were the original gatekeepers? Thank you, Crossroads, for promoting the log, so I don't have to. Appreciate it. Who were the original gatekeepers, if there was ever such a term?
No, there was a term. Like, I played on it. I certainly played on it. But originally it was me and Ed. And then eventually Locksmith, kind of, but that was it. Anybody that says they were a gatekeeper after that was just a wannabe, or they're just full of shit. And I've seen people talk about taking the throne. You know what I'm talking about. Take the throne. And if I would just throw Ed and Bill under this is before Ed got found out as a fucking CP possessor. If I would throw them under the bus, I could take the throne and all this shit. It's like there is no throne. It's not real. It's like people created this shit. I mean, yes, I got rid of some bad apples back in the day, but it wasn't fun. It was just kind of a duty, But once people started trying to get rid of people publicly, like if you just go public with shit up right off the bat, it just makes them defensive and they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But if it's bad enough, and you go be like, hey man, look, you're really, and this is coming from me, if I can tell when a girl's put off and doesn't want to flirt, so I don't flirt with them, unless I'm trying to piss them off. But some of these dudes, I mean, well, like Pure Virus, and there's been way worse ones. And I have to go to him and be like, hey, man, these ladies blocked you for a reason. They'd like you to stop talking to them. Like, don't talk to them in chats. Stop making new accounts, shit like that. And some of them really, really didn't want certain things out there. So I'd eventually be like, hey, man, look, you can either, you can either stop or like this shit's all going to come out. And 9 times out of 10, they would leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I always have to say, the people in your chat, I'm probably, even though they troll me some, we've got a good group here with Ghosts and Jackoff is here. Pat Conman is here under an alt. Jenny is good, very good. Jenny's been a trooper for a long time. FCC is.
I hadn't even seen Pat Con.
FCC is here. Let Pat Con's alt live.
His regular one's gone. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. The only thing I lost in Nam was my virginity.
I don't know. No, people are acting like nobody's down bad. I'm simply talking. We're talking community shop here about the death of this place and sort of a post mortem in the morgue, and we're dialing in the morgue logs. Not down bad. Yeah, people are. You do have to learn and understand. You cannot let trolling bother you, and people think it does not bother me at all, but people think it does, and so they do it because they think that they get under my skin. And again, long ago, I have viewed the internet for what it is, which is a joke. But good people,
Much.
That does look like that looks like a LARP alt for sure. LARP at one time said he only had like 2 alts. He's got like 2,000.
Yeah, right. Why in the
No,
hell?
I know, but the one thing I have to say, I don't know, surprise anal warts. I don't know. Is that a? It could be a LARP alt or a thing. Although that second comment doesn't. Did you see Warbot was live earlier? He privated it, but I saw
yes,
it for a bit.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, pull up FCC for a minute. See what's going on. I'd like to. I mean, we all come into your stream and support you. We're filling some dead air here, FCC, which is hard to do with a panel with with me and Bill. We figure stuff out.
Oh yeah.
Everything. What's the plan through the end of the year, Bill? Would you say you're going to try to do a couple more lives before the end times, 2025, January 20th?
I don't. I'm sure I'll probably be live at some point. I just don't want to do it anymore. I have to really.
Well, in full disclosure, I dragged Bill to this stream today, chat. So
yeah, this was all Sam's idea.
You can thank me. You, in all honesty, you don't feel like going live anymore.
No, I still have people ask me if I'm going to or if I will, and like unless there's like a real reason and they want to come up and talk, I learned to start saying no.
Well, I'm glad you didn't tell me no.
Well, you wanted to have something. You had an actual conversation that you wanted to talk about. I mean, I still had to slack myself up to go live, but I mean, here we are.
No means no. I didn't take no for an answer. I forced my way. I forced my way into this stream, and now you all are going to thank me for it.
Money talks.
Always. We've had a couple good rides over the gaslighting this place a couple times, Bill, over the last year or so, I think.
Oh yeah, there's been some fun times.
It took some trust too on we had one really fun one, but those are distant memories now. FCC is on the beach walking his dog, Sam. He is touching sand and grass. I've seen him walk his dog one time. That's it.
He's been going live on Instagram here lately.
Who? FCC?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe that's what he keeps sending me to go to join his live, and then I click on it and it's already done. What has he got? 4 followers on there, or what? How many people attend? 2?
Well, I mean, it's like when I go live on Instagram, there's not very many people there at all, like single digits sometimes. But
no, I know, but and me too. So I'm wondering, a guy like FCC, if me and you are hitting single digits, I mean, what is there? One person watch? I mean, how many people? Okay, this last FCC Instagram live, how many people were on there?
I missed the last one, so I couldn't tell you.
-6.
Well, I mean, we go live on Instagram because there you can see who's watching, and mine's private, so I've already gotten rid of most of the two-faced backstabbing bitches off of there. But another thing you can do if you're not really sure about somebody is you can pre-ban somebody just for that one live.
Right.
And you
actually kick them out, and they can't access it unless they log in under another account. But then you can see who that is when they come back in, right?
Right.
Maybe
like I said, mine's private, so yeah.
I mean, hell, if a Greatest Generation FCC is doing Instagram, I gotta practice with that. How long does he run them for?
Oh gosh, not as long as on YouTube. I don't really know.
Well, has he shown his little dog more than once?
Oh, he shows us everything on there, man. Like he points that camera straight down his swim trunks.
Yeah, and you need a microscope to see what's inside.
Well, I mean,
similar. Like, no wonder him and Damone get along. I mean, it's called.
It's easier to show.
Or what?
I show more on. It's easier to show more or to talk about things on Instagram because it's not going to get replayed. And like if I have something nasty to drop, I do it on Instagram because then like people know and it will get out, but I don't have to worry about it showing up on somebody else's stream.
Like Nanya, what is up with Nanya? Is this woman gone Looney Tune, or is it like she died and the keyboard pressed Nanya? I mean, the lady is just replaying. Like, we're really seeing how creepy this woman is.
Yeah.
It's like she boom and hit the keyboard. Now she's lying there. It's just like pressing this alt button, which is to just run the playlist of the last 5,000 hours of community bullshit that she recorded. I mean, I do have to say this. Now this place is completely dead. Where does that leave people like Nunya and TBS? Unless one of us goes out and shoots a CEO, what is that worth to them? All of that live streams that they wasted their life recording. I mean, if literally we're dead here, no one's talking about it anymore, how about all these people with the greatest hits of this place? I mean, are they going back and watching them? Are they disposing of it? I mean, Nunya's replaying it. Like, that shows that it's getting weird. And hey, Jenna, Merry Christmas, Jenna. We're all happy. Most of us, some of us are still happy to see you around.
Well, what's funny is when they say, I go live to build hours, but the hours that unless you're trying to get your first 4,000, then it counts. But after you get your first 4,000, the hours you spend actually live do not count towards your hours. What counts is people that watch it afterwards. So if you're staying live for 10 hours at a time, none of those hours count. And like, nobody wants to go back and watch a fucking 10-hour stream. So you're better off just doing a couple hours, saving your time, and more people will watch it afterward. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to watch a 12-hour.
Is that what she's trying to do? She's trying to hit some sort of metric?
That's been her excuse that I've heard before.
I mean, my God, if you're an advertiser and you learn that it's like, okay, so I represent Procter & Gamble. Okay? I'm the marketing director. And I go to YouTube. We spend $450 million a year. Pull up a sample of some of the hot, sexy ads where we placed our ads. And literally Nunya's comes up. I mean, I pull my funding immediately. Whoa, what? We paid $5,000 for that?
Yeah, that's part of why people lose their monetization and don't know why. And I think I talked about this earlier. Just like right after I got off of my earlier live today, I got a notice that one of my a video that's been up for over a year got taken down for racism. Now, it's weird because it's not really racist. And the thing is I know Nanya's replayed that stream at least twice. So I'm not going to tell anybody which stream it was, but if she still got it anywhere, they can strike you for a private video. And they've done that to me before too. So I'm not going to tell anybody publicly what video it was, but I know she's got it up there at least twice in the past. So if I got it, she'll probably get it too. And I'm not monetized, so I don't give a fuck. But yeah. So anyway, there's a time bomb in there.
I just wanted, this just came out yesterday. It's in the basement, Bill.
Oh.
But this is the case where you see how ridiculous it is to get an apology after a false accusation. This, black prostitute completely fabricated a rape story, and her name is Magnum, no joke, or Crystal Magnum, or like a Magnum condom. How do you pronounce that? Mangum. Crystal Magnum admits to fabricating a 2006 Duke lacrosse scandal accusation. Bill, it took 18 years. 18 years for someone to come forward, if at all. I mean, I have to give this woman credit because she actually came forward. But for those who are victims of sexual abuse and assault, we should be on the front lines of pointing out this bullshit, that the damage done by a false story and a false accusation is why victims and survivors get put through the ringer. We all would love to be believed right away, immediately, instantaneously, but these types of stories would happen to these kids. And now they were well taken care of. Each one of these kids got like $15 million. I don't feel bad for them. I feel bad for all of the other people that weren't in such a prominent newsworthy story. Yes, they had their life ruined for a period of time. They wrote a book, they made millions. Duke paid them a bunch. But the truth of the matter is very important. And it took this, she happens to be black, she happens to be a prostitute, putting them both together. She was a black prostitute that alleged that these 3 white lacrosse players had raped her. And it took her, rather than do it the next day, or maybe a week, or 3 weeks, or 3 months, she saw these guys get their lives destroyed based upon the bullshit, which was her story. And she didn't recant after a month or 2 months or 6 months or even 5 years or even 10 years. She does it 18 years later. Pretty ridiculous if you think about it. And again, that is why, if you're a victim or survivor, understand that you will be questioned because of people like this, and you will not be believed. Not because people don't want to believe your story, but because of people like Crystal and other stories that happen. And unfortunately, we see this too there was a Jay-Z had a story. This is interesting, just latest, like this accuser that just recently accused JC has a number of inconsistencies in her story that could blow up her allegation, which again diminishes all of the other ones if she did make it up. Jay-Z accuser. And I mean, for someone so early, there's another one in the basement now, Bill. Another article there.
Okay.
For an accuser so early to come forward and say, I have made some mistakes. It's not, I may have made some mistakes with my memory. It was, I have made some mistakes, like lying mistakes. What do you mean you've made some mistakes? So, essentially there was some evidence that provided further details that potentially the diddler and Jay-Z were. And I think Jay-Z is totally dirty in this situation, by the way. This is not fun to bring this forward, but I think he's as dirty, and Beyonce too, Bill. I think they're both dirty in all of this. But this particular allegation seems pretty shaky, and it's going to damage these prominent cases in which people make these things up, or they're very much exaggerated or untrue, damage people.
So it actually has a good point here. Pay someone to come in and make up some bullshit about a Jay-Z or a Diddy and try to get the whole case thrown out. Yeah, 100%. I can see that happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which again, well, I mean, yeah, it's, I mean, 3 big cases just came out in the last week. A janitor who was in jail for 5 years was totally acquitted, recently sued a California school district in the sheriff's office, who essentially rewarded. The stories were, according to this report, the person was completely acquitted of all the charges, and essentially came out that the victims recanted their stories, and they were pressured by investigators to claim something. The janitor and then you had the Crystal Magnum story come out. She finally apologized. And then you have this where, this accuser comes forward and acknowledges this. Yeah, I don't want to be white knighting for someone like this at all. But the truth is important. Now, that being said, Jay-Z's dirty. Okay. I'm sorry. All these fucking celebrities are dirty, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And what I hate about this is, again, sex trafficking to who? With Epstein. Epstein was guilty of sex trafficking. Who were the customers? Did any of the customers get revealed?
Well, that's that's what the Diddy raid was probably all about, because they weren't there for very long for as big a house as that was. So I think they knew what they were after, and they walked out with a lot of computers and cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
So is
that
this the
raid
FBI?
was
Yeah.
about getting the evidence back.
Or getting the evidence so the government has control over people, but they have leverage over people.
Right.
Right? Would
Yeah.
No one has answered me this question, if anybody knows. What happened to all the surveillance footage from Epstein's houses? He recorded everything from his New Mexico Zorro Ranch, from his island, home in Miami, home in New York. All was videotaped of everyone coming and going and all the rooms. FBI, U.S. attorneys, where are those surveillance tapes? Who
Exactly.
made appearance in those tapes? That's what pisses me off. And then they put Ghislaine Maxwell up as sort of the puppet. Well, I guess we have to charge someone now that Epstein's dead. We're going to puppeteer this one and put up Ghislaine Maxwell. And if you watch that trial, that was the most directed, focused trial that even like the prosecutors were keeping a bunch of evidence out. They were like arguing, and the defense lawyers were actually trying to bring more people in and more evidence in of involved parties, and yet they kept it out. So, you know, Bill, we've gone through a lot today. Why do I feel like I'm the only one talking, Bill, on your channel, on your panel? But I'm happy to do it. I've taken over a mini.
I had to mute up for a second.
Bill, before I knew you, before I knew your name, just when I was new in the community, when I did the thing, I didn't get the Phil Acio, and I was calling you Phil. I don't know if you remember that.
A lot of people do. It's funny. I've been using this since the fun days on Discord, and people just don't get it right away. And they'll call me up at like 3 a.m. and they'll be like, "I just got what that was, Phil Acio." And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. That's why I keep using it.
I was calling you Phil, and you never corrected me for like weeks because I didn't.
Right? No, I don't. I don't correct people.
And well, yeah, everyone sort of disappeared. Then you had like, where did Annoyed go? Annoyed was doing these daily CPP Tommy roasts, and then he was gone. And then
he popped in here, not today, but the last time I was live.
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, they were very much, the trials themselves were almost like the government was using the trials not to get information out, but the government was using the trials to keep information pocketed down. It's like, all of this now is wrapped up. We don't need any surveillance. We don't need any of this. We're going to wrap it all up and close this case. And yet the government has access to it. The government probably has all this leverage over all these people that were involved. And I do think that, like, if you're going to demand answers from this CEO of this healthcare, where's the similar protesters of people going to this assistant U.S. attorney's office about where the fuck are the surveillance tapes of what was raided in all these raids that you did? And why wasn't anyone else prosecuted?
Exactly. There's people on there all the way from oil sheiks to senators to lunch ladies. It's all about control and money.
Is Anthony Cruz here? I'm seeing his name everywhere, and I don't even know if he's here. Someone's like, "Anthony Cruz, pull up, you pussy." I mean, is Anthony Cruz even here? Where is that douchebag?
His sex change operation finally got approved from the insurance, so he's dealing with that.
Oh, great. Now people get, gotcha. So $1 million for Anthony Cruz sex change, but they can't pay for people's heart medicine.
Well, we negotiated it down to a lot less.
Well, yeah, with Anthony
Uh,
Cruz, there's really not much you have to do, right? There's not much you have to do to change him into a woman, basically.
correct,
So
correct. Yeah,
it's probably not going to be your typical million. You know, it might only be 50,000. We're 90% there already.
yeah.
But where is he? I
We
don't
kind of
see
have
him. I
to.
don't see him on the. I don't see him on the dais.
Well, he's under heavy sedation.
Oh, Christie's
He
here.
can't
Cat Eyes
really.
was here earlier too.
What's up, Christy?
Can
I'm gonna
someone
throw out the
drop?
link.
Can someone drop Cat Eyes' channel, please? Cat Eyes' new channel. Anybody know what Cat Eye? Christy, can you put up Cat Eyes' new channel or Crossroads? Anybody know Cat Eyes' new channel?
I know it's gonna be Sam. You're gonna have to talk for a couple minutes because I gotta make noise here.
You got what?
I know it's gonna be tough for you, but I'm gonna need you to do all the talking for a minute because I got to do something noisy. And I don't think people want to hear it.
Okay, no problem.
It won't take me. It won't take me long.
Feliz Navidad, Christy. Dominique, if we do any more Denver tours, we'll have to. It's hard to. I think you've been invited. Thank you. There's Cat Eyes' channel. Got it. Okay. Gotcha, Cat Eyes. If we I mean, has really anybody been live? There's a chance I might go live tonight or tomorrow night. Maybe we'll dust off the Sam's weekend review, Swear, the manual for Swear, and we might go live tonight, maybe. Tonight or tomorrow night. Just see how everybody's doing for the holidays. Wish people a Merry Christmas. And no, he doesn't, Dominique. JT Colfax loves you. Colfax loves all the women of the community, even if they like it or not. As Trump said he's going to protect all the women, even if they like it or not. Which is a strange comment. But Christy, I hope you're well. Why don't you pop up here for a minute, Christy? Say hello. Don't mean to think. And Jenny, I had a question, Jenny, but I can ask you offline about something. Anybody? How did Warbot stream go? Anybody know what from Warbot what he went on his stream? I understand. So my streams, my lives will generally stay up if I go live anymore, but they will stay up for a couple days, enough for Nunya and TBS to download them and retain them in their terabyte hard drives to give to Boobay to watch later. But I don't understand why. Maybe Warbot can help me understand why go live. FCC why go live and then it's like people can't come back and watch it. I would have liked to see what Warbot had to say.
I do that quite. I don't really go live very much anymore, but I do that quite a bit. Like the ambient streams, that's almost always an automatic takedown right away. Like some of the early morning stuff. And see, the thing is, when you,
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, like we were talking about before, when you use the when you don't use StreamYard and you use the vertical mode, like you get crazy amounts of views. Like the first time, before I knew what it was about, the first time it happened, it showed that I had 400 and something people in the chat. Like, and the sunrise ones I don't have. I only have like 20 in there. But it showed like 400 and something were in there, and I thought I was getting bot attacked. And then when I shut it down, it was only live for like a few minutes, and it said I had like 4,000 total views or something like that. And I've had some that showed a lot more, but I don't know, it's just weird. But I don't, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know why. Sometimes I just take stuff down just to be a dick, even if there's no real reason. I mean, when you delete something, you lose all the views that you gained, but I don't really care.
Right. Well, maybe I'm going to try to go. What it's just you go live via YouTube on a vertical stream. Basically, you do it on your
Yeah,
phone.
you just go. Yeah, you just go live straight through YouTube. No StreamYard. Just go live straight through YouTube,
And YouTube seems to like that
um,
better. They promote it to more people.
they're definitely pushing. That's what they push for.
Huh.
And they throw it like a lot of my views came from like they'll throw your live stream into like you scroll through shorts. They'll throw your live stream into that so that when people blow by it, it still counts as a view. And
Yeah.
I've gotten that's where most of my subscribers have come from in the last few months.
Well, Bill, enjoyable chat. Thanks for the hey, there's Cat Eyes. Happy Merry Christmas, Cat Eyes. Thank you
Okay,
for
guys.
the info, and I'm sure we'll talk before Christmas, but I appreciate you going live. I really have been anxious to pick your brain about a number of things here, including the gun and stuff. So thank you
There
for
ain't much brain left, so you're gonna have to pick hard.
uh, uh, the the gun stuff is interesting, and it's definitely you're much nicer than the gun store people for sure. So
Yeah, I like to think so because I really have seen a lot of those guys be assholes, and I've gotten into them. I've gotten into it with them about it in the past because people just don't know, and you can't expect them to know what you know. And I've taught a lot of people who have never fired a gun in their lives. I've taught a lot of them how to shoot, and I try to even when they almost kill me, I try to be as
yeah,
patient as I can with them because I don't want to scare them off. People are already afraid of
yeah,
guns, and I've had people that were leftist bitches that were like, "I hate guns." Like, have you ever fired a gun? And something else that pisses me off is somebody will
yes,
take somebody out and shoot them for the first time, and they'll give them like a 44 Magnum. Well, that person's never going to want to shoot a gun again after that, you know.
yeah,
So I start them off with something small, and I'm real gentle.
right, right, right.
And if they
Well,
let me
is
cop
that
a
one?
feel, it's
Well, be careful. They might blow you away.
you know, I'm willing to take the risk.
um, well, anyway, thanks for the bullet info. The subsonic was prior to this latest. I had known about it, but I really didn't know that subsonic needed to be used with if sound suppression is what your goal is, that you actually had to
Yeah.
get these subsonic ammo. And in
Mhm.
addition, I did learn something from you today, which was I didn't know that 45s inherently have subsonic. So really, if you want a sound suppressant, then you would maybe do a 45.
Yeah, like the standard. I mean, there's all different kinds, and there are plus P rounds that do go faster. But like the standard 45 round is 230 grain round nose lead, 950 feet per second. That's slower than the speed of sound, and so they're pretty much automatically. And they do have 45 rounds that are deadened down even more. But it's really, if you have a good suppressor, it's really not necessary.
Yeah.
But you still depending on what kind of 45 it is, you might still have to change return springs because the suppressor adds back pressure. So you can't just roll a suppressor on a gun and call it good. You gotta, like, the back of the where the barrel meets the chamber has to be a little bit different. The recoil spring has to be. There's a lot to it, a lot more
Mhm.
to it than people think.
Well, does the does the penetration of the target meaning if the bullet is going slower and it's not going, I guess the sound barrier is how fast, 1,200 feet a second. Am I penetrating my target any less? Is it like is the bullet not going to rip through someone because it's subsonic, or is it the same penetration, maybe a little bit less?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about like a 45 where the rounds are the same anyway, it'll slow it down a little bit, but it doesn't make that much difference. And of course, if you're talking about like a 9 millimeter, the standard round is, what is it? I can't remember now, but it's faster than the speed of sound. So obviously, if you take powder out of it and make it slower, it's just not going to penetrate as good. But at close range, which is where you're using suppressors mostly, it's going to still do the job. And I'll tell you another thing about suppressors. Oh God, like there's way more to it, but sometimes the point of a suppressor is to make your gun sound different. Because let's say both sides are using M4s to shoot at each other. You'll want suppressors so that you can tell who's doing the shooting. Like if your teammate is farther away and you hear guns going off, you know which one of them's doing the shooting.
Right.
And sometimes the point, if you can't eliminate the noise, sometimes it's just to get the gun to not sound like a gun.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thank you for having me up. Thank you for running this stream. I appreciate you. Why not do it in public rather than? I'm sure you got a lot of interesting things to add on this, and I think even though I was trolled by your chat, I think it's enjoyable for people to listen to or learn from. And they won't give me credit for the things that I asked that they don't know and didn't know, but they're too afraid to ask. And I asked it on their behalf. So yet again, chat, thank me for asking the questions that you didn't know the answer to, but now you do. Bill, pulling the strings. We now have learned that it was a Supreme Court ruling of Taylor versus Tainter. Tainter. Yes, these are all these are real life names that I'm not making up. Is why one of the reasons why Bill's called pulling the strings in a paragraph in there gives people the authority, a bondsman authority, nationwide. Nationwide authority? Will there be a new holiday challenge this season, Sam Clinton?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a great question. I don't know. I need a daddy Warbucks like UFCC to fund something like that. Why don't we do a joint SCN FCC holiday challenge? That's a good question. Since my last holiday challenge went off without a hitch, right? I didn't get routinely.
It worked out and real well for you, huh?
Yeah.
Danielle, I would give you all the yes you want. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then we learned about Bonnie Blue, who got deported from Australia for advertising her sex acts with barely legal men. And then we went from there and talked about the Luigi Mangione case. So, Bill, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to your chat. I probably will go live either tonight or tomorrow night on my channel, Sam Clinton Network. And of course, at the Morgue Logs is where you can find me and JT doing some collaborative work on true crime stuff. I have about 100 more clips like the one that we just posted at the grave of Al Packer. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you can get all of the information and the latest, as well as on Spotify. The Morgue Logs is on Spotify now. So, and it will soon be on Apple Podcasts as soon as they clear the content. What is your favorite Christmas dessert? What is my favorite Christmas dessert?
Cock.
A Christmas dessert. I mean, I'm a big eggnog drinker, to be honest. So I
Oh God,
typically
I
will
hate that
spice.
shit.
I love eggnog, so I will typically make a nice uh, uh, cocktail of eggnog and some type of whiskey or bourbon or something. I don't know, but some type of drink. I'm not a big drinker, as you probably already knew, Bill. But although I did get one of the drunkest I've ever been has been on a Bill stream. I don't know if you remember this long time ago. I got pretty drunk on my face reveal stream. That somewhere someone has a clip of or that recorded. Do you remember that stream, Bill?
Oh
For
yeah, I
both you and
remember that
Sis?
one.
Uh, uh, that was pretty crazy. I drank like a half of what was the Costco's or the Kirkland whiskey.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
wasn't
self-dox
aware
stream.
that
No,
you
that
could.
was I didn't dox myself. You know, look at this surprise anal award. What a I don't even think that's LARP. Who the hell is that? That looks like a TBS baby. He's got the mouth. Someone amends me. That's a TBS alt. Let's call it out. Surprise anal warts, which TBS has, is definitely a TBS alt.
Ribbed for his pleasure.
I just smell it with TBS. Just the snarky remark. I've been trying to pinpoint it because how does Sam know about vertical lines and the huge how does Sam know about vertical lives and the huge engagement you get from it? His BF Colfax does that almost exclusively now. Did Sam just say wow, consent not grant? This guy just has a smugness about him. It's got it. I'm sniffing anal warts, and I believe that that's TBS. No,
I've heard that
seriously.
about you, actually.
I mean, that absolutely. All right, Bill, I got to run before it gets worse. We'll see
All
you
right,
later. Hi,
but
TBS. Merry Christmas, TBS. Come home for the holidays. We all want to see you. Bill, thanks. Take care.
all right, thank you.
Got to jump.
All right, later. All right, yo. Last chance. I'm about sick of this shit, but I'll throw out the link one more time, just in case. Come on. Come on, do it for daddy. There you go. Last call. Sorry, ladies. I saw a bunch of you flirting with me earlier, but I couldn't get a word in. So I was not ignoring you. TBS puts the A in anal. I heard that Jeff hasn't been going live lately. Is that true? Can anybody confirm or deny that? Hopefully he's in rehab somewhere. I like the Outback Steakhouse. I haven't been in a long time, but I like that place. Their loaded baked sweet potatoes. Oh man, you would sub. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure. I either unsubbed or turned off notifications a long time ago. I'm not sure which. But yeah, that's what I suggest everybody do is just stop enabling the fucker. I have not had the salmon there. I always get steak at that place. I do like salmon though. I'm not really a fan of pecans either, though. My Actually, speaking of the bail bond stuff, the guy that hired me, when he took us out, we didn't go any place cheap, but he took us to a place called Ruth's Chris or something like that, like $300 a plate. But they bring you the plates are fucking like you can't touch the plate because it'll burn your ass. But it's some of the most tender steak I've ever had. Like you didn't need a knife; you could just cut the T-bone with a fork. It was nice. I do like bourbon. All right, y'all. I've been holding it for a while, so I'm gonna jump off of here. But thank y'all for showing up. They do make cream for the old surprise nail warts, by the way. All right, y'all. Stay naked.